Hello, and welcome to my tour of It's a Small World at Disneyland. My name is Sam Pocker. I'm an artist. And I made this video because I've always wanted to be able to share what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about when I go on this ride with other people. Like many of you, I've been on this ride hundreds, if not thousands of times in my life, and I've had trouble expressing what it is about the ride that makes me want to keep going on it over and over again. I thought by making this video, it was the best way to share my personal experience with others who may not see it the way I do. There are some omissions and errors, which is just natural. This may not be the most definitive tour, but it's as close to definitive as I have the ability to make right now. Also, the picture quality varies from scene to scene based on the available materials I had. There is a complete list of sources in the video description. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Thank you. Now please remain seated. Keep your arms and legs inside the boat at all times, and let's begin our tour of It's a Small World. The journey begins in a darkened space, where the first sight to greet us is a charming nautical scene that sets the tone for the adventure ahead. Atop stylized waves, a friendly blue whale peeks out from the water, its spiral-shaped spout adding a whimsical touch. Below, fish in bold, graphic shapes swim through the glowing currents, their simple forms reminiscent of mid-century cut paper illustrations. A striped lighthouse stands proudly, its two arms raised high, waving banners that read, "Hello," and "There," a cheerful welcome to all who enter. Above the rolling waves, a Viking-style boat with a dragon-headed prow sails forward. The vessel is bright red, adorned with decorative patterns and shields, evoking traditional Scandinavian motifs in a playful, storybook-like style. Two Viking figures stand aboard, their round, doll-like faces framed by horned helmets. One figure holds onto a rope as if preparing to hoist the sail, which bears a welcoming message in bold, folk-inspired typography. The scene is bathed in cool blues and greens, punctuated by warm reds and golds, drawing the eye toward the ship as it embarks on its voyage. The gentle curvature of the waves and the layering of elements create depth while maintaining the flat, graphic aesthetic characteristic of Mary Blair's artistic vision. Soft lighting enhances the textures, making the glittering water and the painted details shimmer as we drift past. This moment, at the very start of the journey, is an invitation, one that encourages us to embrace the whimsy and wonder of the world we are about to explore. Further along the voyage, we encounter an enchanting maritime scene where different cultures and storytelling traditions converge. On the left, a traditional Chinese junk ship with warm pink sails glides over the waves, its hull adorned with bold geometric patterns. A panda character, dressed in vibrant red, plays a stringed instrument, while another panda peeks out playfully from the deck, embodying the ride's spirit of joyful cultural representation. The sails billow with a welcoming message, the happiest cruise that ever sailed, rendered in whimsical, hand-drawn lettering that invites us deeper into this fantastical world. In the center, a lively monkey, donning a red hat, paddles a vibrantly colored dragon boat. Its bright yellow and red scales shimmer under the soft lighting, adding to the sense of motion. The monkey, cheerful and expressive, balances effortlessly as he rows, bringing a sense of dynamic energy and playfulness to the scene. Below, stylized fish weave through the waves, reinforcing the illusion of a lively and bustling seascape. To the right, a young pirate proudly commands a makeshift raft adorned with a black flag bearing a playful skull and crossbones. Dressed in a bright orange coat, he waves excitedly as if beckoning us to join in his high seas adventure. The raft, constructed of oversized logs and overflowing with treasure, enhances the sense of imaginative play. A floating ship in a bottle, featuring tiny illustrated mice, drifts nearby, adding yet another layer of whimsy to this lively tableau. The color palette here is a harmonious blend of cool blues and radiant warm tones, creating a balance between the serene ocean backdrop and the vibrant characters who inhabit it. As we move on, a vibrant red boat crests a sparkling wave, its triangular sails billowing with a hopeful message. Looking to the future, The scene is a playful yet optimistic representation of adventure and discovery, its cheerful color palette inviting passengers to embrace the journey ahead. Atop the boat, two animated owls serve as whimsical navigators, one peering through a telescope while the other, adorned with a tiny red bow, offers a knowing wink. These small but expressive details reinforce the attraction's core theme of unity and joy, as even the animal inhabitants of this world participate in the global voyage. Beneath the boat, swirling blue waters shimmer with hints of iridescence, a signature touch reminiscent of Mary Blair's artistic influence. The stylized waves create a rhythmic flow, guiding the eye naturally from left to right, as though the boat is steadily advancing into the unknown. Gliding fish of varied shapes and colors further populate the scene, reinforcing the idea of movement and interconnectedness. In the background, fluffy pastel clouds and rolling hills lend depth to the composition, their soft hues providing a gentle contrast to the bright reds and greens in the foreground. A banner unfurls from the mast, its delicate floral embellishments and curling edges evoking a handcrafted folk art aesthetic. The presence of the infinity symbol on the boat's side adds an extra layer of meaning, perhaps suggesting the boundless possibilities of the future and the timeless nature of the journey. The boat itself, with its curved prow and elegant gold flourishes, feels like a storybook vessel brought to life, reminiscent of the dreamlike quality that defines It's a Small World. A golden-hued boat with an ornately curved prow bobs along stylized waves, carrying a joyful traveler dressed in vibrant pinks, oranges, and blues. The boat's design evokes the imagery of traditional South American reed boats, yet its whimsical color choices and exaggerated features ground it firmly in the fantastical world of It's a Small World. The prow itself takes the shape of a fantastical bird, its curled crest and expressive eye-lending personality to the vessel as if it, too, is on an adventure. The traveler himself is a picture of joy, his simple, doll-like features exuding warmth and excitement, his feathered headdress, reminiscent of Andean or Amazonian cultural attire, further cements the global inspiration behind the attraction's design. He paddles forward with a steady rhythm, reinforcing the ever-moving nature of this grand journey. Just ahead, a small pink flag flutters, its geometric floral pattern a delicate nod to handcrafted folk art traditions from around the world. A whimsical penguin, dressed in a playful purple hat adorned with a decorative trim featuring short strings with small dangling pom-poms, joyfully navigates the waters in a lilac-hued boat. With a large spoon that doubles as a boating paddle in hand, it appears to be delighting in a journey of culinary adventure, surrounded by an assortment of delectable treats. Towering sundaes and meticulously arranged bowls of frozen delights sit carefully balanced on the boat's surface, reinforcing the cheerful spirit of indulgence and fun. The gentle waves beneath shimmer with the same iridescent highlights that characterize the attraction's stylized aquatic landscapes. Swirling blues and greens reflect the soft glow of surrounding lights, creating an inviting contrast with the warmer pinks and purples dominating the foreground. A pink flag, its floral emblem adding a delicate decorative touch, flutters at the bow, guiding the penguin's voyage through this sweetly surreal world. Two cheerful figures float effortlessly, each grasping a string attached to a large, vibrant balloon. Their weightless posture and delighted expressions evoke a sense of carefree joy, as if they are lifted by the simple wonder of childhood dreams. The first child, adorned with a bright orange flower in her hair and a grass skirt, embodies the spirit of Hawaiian tradition. Her warm red tones and soft smile radiate a sense of dance and celebration, perfectly capturing the light-hearted energy of the attraction. Beside her, a blonde girl dressed in a classic blue and white Dutch costume holds onto her own balloon, eyes gently closed, as if lost in a whimsical daydream. Her traditional bonnet and apron reinforce the global celebration of cultural diversity that defines It's a Small World. The contrast between her crisp, cool-toned attire and the warm tropical hues of her companion highlights the attraction's commitment to visual harmony while celebrating the unique identities of different cultures. Above them, the balloons themselves are decorated with playful patterns, some featuring floral motifs and others simple bold colors. These floating orbs act as symbolic representations of unity, tethered to each child, yet soaring beyond, signifying the uplifting power of connection and shared joy. The surrounding dark background ensures that the characters and balloons remain the focal point, enhancing the dreamlike quality of the scene. A friendly sea serpent rises from the stylized waves, its long, sinuous body adorned with playful pastel accents. With its bright green scales and soft, rounded features, this gentle creature exudes an air of curiosity rather than menace. Its expressive eyes seem to welcome passing visitors, adding a touch of whimsy to the nautical adventure. Surrounding the serpent, rolling waves in shades of blue and turquoise create a rhythmic sense of movement, their layered forms reminiscent of paper cutouts. Soft lighting casts an ethereal glow over the scene, emphasizing the dreamlike quality that permeates the attraction. Wispy clouds drift overhead, their simple, flowing shapes complementing the overall composition and enhancing the sense of a serene storybook world. The serpent's arched posture and repeating curved shapes contribute to the visual harmony of the scene. Its design, like many elements in It's a Small World, embraces a balance between stylization and charm, ensuring that it remains inviting rather than fearsome. The soft pastels on its back further reinforce the light-hearted nature of this depiction, making it an endearing part of the journey. As the boat glides past, the sea serpent remains a silent yet expressive guardian of these playful waters. This moment in the ride highlights the attraction's ability to take familiar mythological imagery and transform it into something joyful, reinforcing the overarching theme of global imagination and unity. Two joyful figures float in midair, each holding on to the strings of delicate balloons that seem to lift them in a dance of cultural celebration. On the right, a boy dressed in traditional Mexican attire beams with delight. His bright yellow poncho is decorated with intricate red and green patterns, and his white pants feature small, festive tassels. A wide-brimmed sombrero, lined with a colorful, geometric design, sits atop his dark hair, completing his cheerful ensemble. The rhythmic sway of his pose suggests movement, as if he is caught in an eternal moment of festive joy. To his left, a girl dressed in a traditional Eastern European folk costume lifts her arms gracefully. Her white blouse, adorned with puffy sleeves, features red and blue floral embroidery, which is echoed in the matching patterns of her layered red skirt. A pointed red cap with white trim sits atop her brown hair, giving her the appearance of a storybook character come to life. Her open expression and slightly bent knees suggest she is mid-dance, caught in the same whimsical celebration as her companion. A grand and colorful boat sets sail at the heart of the scene, carrying a joyous ensemble of children from around the world. Their faces glow with smiles as they sing in unison, embodying the spirit of harmony and unity that defines It's a Small World. Each child is dressed in vibrant attire representing different cultures, their clothing adorned with intricate patterns and rich colors that celebrate global traditions. From cowboy hats to kimonos, from embroidered dresses to turbans, each figure contributes to the visual symphony of diversity. Above them, a cascade of banners waves gently, their playful, hand-lettered typography proclaiming, "The happiest cruise that ever sailed round the world." Glittering stars embellish the signs, adding a touch of magic to the welcoming message. The warm lighting casts a gentle glow over the boat, emphasizing its inviting nature as it embarks on its endless journey through song and celebration. Surrounding the boat, fluid ribbons of color swirl through the background, their flowing movement suggesting a wind that carries the melody forward. The stylized waves beneath shimmer with cool blues and pastel hues, framing the boat in a sea of motion and wonder. These elements combine to create a dynamic yet soothing backdrop, reinforcing the timeless enchantment of the attraction. Two joyful figures float weightlessly, their hands gripping the delicate strings of colorful balloons that lift them into the air. Their expressions radiate pure delight, capturing the boundless wonder that defines It's a Small World. On the left, a child dressed in traditional Middle Eastern attire gracefully drifts upward. Their soft white turban wraps elegantly around their head, complementing the flowing silhouette of their outfit. A warm orange tunic, adorned with subtle patterns, pairs harmoniously with loose white trousers and pointed shoes, evoking a timeless cultural aesthetic. Their pose suggests lightness, as if they are truly carried by the balloon's gentle pull. Beside them, another child in regal blue attire smiles warmly. A white headdress, secured with golden bands, frames their face, reinforcing the global celebration of culture. The rich blue garment drapes gracefully, lending an air of elegance to their floating motion. The soft curves of their design, paired with the glowing backdrop, create a dreamy, uplifting atmosphere. As the boat gently drifts forward, it approaches a grand archway, bathed in warm hues of red, orange, and pink. This glowing portal serves as a transition, guiding guests from the first scene into the next chapter of their global journey. The arch resembles a welcoming rainbow, a symbol of unity and harmony, encapsulating the attraction's spirit as riders prepare to embark into new lands. Its curved shape and luminous warmth contrast beautifully with the cool blues and greens of the surrounding waves, reinforcing the ride's seamless blending of movement and emotion. On the left, the boat of children singing together remains a dominant focal point, their expressions radiating joy as they wave guests onward. The layering of figures and banners gives the composition depth, with the swirling ribbons of color extending from behind, echoing the movement of the water below. These flowing shapes help establish continuity, creating a sense of progression while maintaining the dreamy, kinetic energy that defines It's a Small World. To the right, a vibrant parade of floating figures drifts effortlessly, their balloons lifting them as if caught in a gentle breeze. They appear weightless, suspended in midair, reinforcing the ride's whimsical and dreamlike nature. The diversity of their costumes and colors presents a counterbalance to the structured, celebratory unity of the boat on the left. This contrast between grounded, collective celebration and the free-spirited, airborne joy of the balloon holders highlights the attraction's theme of connection across cultures. The interaction between these two visual elements creates a harmonious dance, where both grounded and floating figures symbolize different aspects of unity. One rooted in shared traditions, the other in the limitless possibilities of imagination. As the boat glides beneath the arch, guests are left with a final impression of this opening scene: a world in motion, voices in harmony, and an invitation to continue exploring. This transition is not just a shift in setting, but a reminder that the journey ahead is as boundless as the sky above. A breathtaking Arctic landscape unfolds as the boat enters the North Pole scene, where a world of icy blues and shimmering whites transports riders into a winter wonderland. At the base of the icy cliffs, a field of oversized, stylized flowers blooms amidst the frozen landscape. Their geometric shapes and soft pastel hues create a striking contrast against the cool blues of the surrounding ice. The flowers, reminiscent of intricate snowflakes, add an element of whimsy and warmth to the scene, reinforcing the ride's signature blend of fantasy and cultural storytelling. The way they gently layer upon one another enhances the sense of depth and movement, as if nature itself is part of this magical Arctic dreamscape. Towering geometric ice formations adorned with glistening diamond-shaped patterns rise like frozen peaks under the soft glow of twinkling lights. The cool palette of blues, purples, and whites enhances the ethereal ambiance, immersing guests in this snowy spectacle. Atop one of the ice cliffs, two figures bundled in warm, fur-lined coats sit patiently, their fishing poles extended as they partake in a timeless Arctic tradition. Their small, doll-like features and serene expressions convey a quiet joy, reinforcing the ride's overarching theme of harmony across cultures. Below them, a playful seal balances a ball on its nose, adding a sense of motion and whimsy to the serene landscape. To the right, an igloo-like structure with a whimsical candy-striped pole reaches upward, its soft, rounded form contrasting with the sharp angles of the ice peaks around it. Nearby, a charming koala joyfully paddling a tiny canoe, its oversized wooden oars creating the illusion of movement as it rides gentle Arctic waves. Beneath the ice, a watchful whale emerges, while to the left, a cheerful walrus peeks out from behind the frozen waves, adding another delightful character to this wintry scene, its simple, stylized form contributing to the dreamy, storybook-like quality of the scene. The combination of glittering surfaces, glowing cool tones, and charmingly animated figures makes this North Pole tableau a magical and inviting moment in the journey. As the boat glides forward, the scene transitions from the icy blues of the North Pole to the deep, rich hues of a Scandinavian-inspired landscape. Tall, stylized structures resembling traditional Scandinavian wooden cutouts painted in a striking royal blue serve as a dramatic backdrop, adorned with intricate folk art patterns that evoke the decorative traditions of Sweden. These swirling motifs, with their elegant curlicues and symmetrical floral designs, reflect the artistic heritage of Nordic culture, reminiscent of traditional rosemaling or Dalahorse embellishments. At the base of the cutouts, delicate lace-like patterns in soft white create a sense of warmth and craftsmanship, suggesting the intricate handwork found in Scandinavian textiles. The contrast between the dark blue background and the crisp white and pastel details enhances the visual depth of the scene, drawing the eye to the ornate, stylized beauty of the artwork. Floating floral decorations and symmetrical diamond-shaped accents further reinforce the harmonious balance that defines this aesthetic. The careful use of organic shapes and geometric symmetry reflects the Scandinavian appreciation for nature and order. Above these cutout structures, delicate snowflakes cascade across the darkened sky, their intricate lace-like designs glowing softly against the backdrop. These snowflakes, varying in size and complexity, evoke the feeling of a gently falling winter scene, reinforcing the ethereal charm of the Scandinavian-inspired landscape. The soft white hues contrast beautifully with the deep blues below, creating a sense of depth and movement that enhances the dreamlike quality of the scene. The boat gently glides into a vibrant Nordic-inspired scene, where the charm of Sweden and Norway unfolds in a symphony of color and tradition. The right side of the scene is alive with the warmth of Swedish culture, as four figures dressed in traditional folk costumes stand on a bright red platform. Their attire, adorned with intricate embroidery and lace, exudes authenticity, and each figure holds a songbook, as if caught mid-performance in a joyful choral arrangement. The floral patterns decorating the platform further enhance the celebratory atmosphere, reinforcing Sweden's deep-rooted love for music and folk traditions. To the left, atop a snowy ledge, a whimsical Norwegian moment plays out. A young figure in a striking pink outfit interacts playfully with a lively goat, evoking scenes of rural Nordic life. Above them, a large ornate red clock with petal-like accents adds a distinct fairy tale quality, reminiscent of the rich craftsmanship found in Norwegian woodcarving traditions. The clock's deep red hue contrasts beautifully with the cool blues and greens of the surrounding landscape, guiding the viewer's eye through the composition. The background is dominated by stylized geometric mountains, their peaks adorned with diamond-shaped patterns that shimmer under the soft glow of the attraction's lighting. These mountainous forms, inspired by Scandinavian folk art, blend seamlessly with the floral motifs scattered throughout the scene. The mix of vibrant reds, cool blues, and earthy greens creates a visually rich tableau, balancing warmth and wintry elegance. The journey continues as the boat glides beneath a striking representation of Indigenous Canadian artistry. A grand wooden arch, adorned with bold stylized faces, inspired by the Indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest, welcomes visitors to this vibrant Canadian scene. The expressive eyes and curved lines of the totemic designs exude warmth and wisdom, inviting travelers to immerse themselves in the culture and traditions of the region. Beyond the arch, Towering geometric mountains rise in the background, their faceted peaks painted in cool blues, purples, and warm golden hues. These stylized forms echo the grandeur of the Canadian Rockies, creating a dramatic sense of scale while maintaining the attraction's signature whimsical aesthetic. The interplay of angular shapes and soft lighting gives the scene a serene yet majestic atmosphere. On either side, vibrant flora and additional indigenous motifs complement the setting, reinforcing the deep connection between nature and storytelling in Indigenous Canadian culture. Below, a totem pole stands proudly, its carefully stacked figures symbolizing animals and spirits, a testament to the importance of oral history and mythology in Indigenous traditions. Nearby, a golden thunderbird with outstretched wings perches majestically, representing strength and protection. This Canadian-inspired scene captures the harmony between natural beauty and cultural heritage. The use of bold graphic elements, rich color contrasts, and carefully arranged compositions ensures that every detail contributes to the immersive experience. As the boat passes beneath the grand Indigenous-inspired archway, a whimsical yet iconic figure of Canada comes into view. A cheerful Mountie, clad in his signature red uniform with gold buttons and a wide-brimmed hat, extends his arms in a welcoming gesture. His exaggerated features and playful mustache add to the charm of the scene, blending seamlessly with the stylized storytelling of It's a Small World. Perched atop the Mountie's hat is a magnificent thunderbird, its wings outstretched in a display of bold geometric patterns and vibrant colors. The thunderbird, a powerful figure in Indigenous mythology, symbolizes strength and protection, reinforcing the deep cultural heritage woven into the attraction's design. The combination of these two figures, the steadfast Mountie and the revered thunderbird, creates a harmonious representation of Canada's historical and cultural narratives. In the background, angular mountains painted in cool blues and greens rise sharply, evoking the grandeur of the Canadian Rockies. The simple yet striking forms maintain the attraction's signature aesthetic, where natural landscapes are reimagined through a playful and colorful lens. Soft lighting accentuates the crisp edges of the peaks, casting gentle shadows that enhance the sense of depth. The journey through Scandinavia continues as the boat approaches a lively Swedish celebration, set against a backdrop of rolling hills and stylized floral patterns. To the left of the frame, towering flowers with layered petals in shades of pink, orange, and yellow sway gently, framing the tableau with a whimsical touch. These oversized blooms create a sense of enchantment, their soft, rounded shapes contrasting with the geometric precision of the folk art patterns decorating the scene. Atop a grand, circular platform painted in soft blues and adorned with intricate Swedish folk designs, figures in traditional attire engage in dance. Their colorful costumes, featuring detailed embroidery and bright hues, embody the warmth and festivity of Swedish culture. The carefully arranged floral motifs on their garments mirror the surrounding landscape, reinforcing the unity between nature and tradition. The base of the platform is embellished with elegant swirling patterns and delicate accents, reminiscent of the decorative flourishes found in Swedish crafts. This thoughtful detailing helps to create a visually harmonious scene where every element feels intentionally placed to evoke a sense of joy and cultural pride. The boat continues through Sweden, revealing another charming tableau of Scandinavian tradition and musical celebration. The foreground is alive with towering flowers in shades of deep purple, pink, and orange, their bold shapes and layered petals enhancing the immersive storybook-like quality of the scene. Nestled among them, glowing blossoms cast a soft, warm light, adding to the enchanting atmosphere. At the center, three musicians dressed in vibrant Swedish folk attire perform a lively melody. The trio consists of a flutist, an accordion player, and a violinist, each wearing meticulously detailed costumes that reflect traditional Swedish craftsmanship. Their embroidered vests, flowing skirts, and distinctive hats capture the essence of Sweden's rich textile heritage while reinforcing the attraction's handcrafted aesthetic. In the background, rolling hills painted in cool blue hues rise gently, adorned with delicate floral motifs and stylized patterns inspired by Nordic design. Above them, whimsical reindeer figures with exaggerated antlers peek over the landscape, adding a playful and surreal touch to the scene. Their presence, combined with the dreamy color palette and dynamic composition, creates a moment that feels both festive and timeless. The boat now drifts into Denmark, where a grand celebration of Danish heritage and whimsical festivity unfolds. Dominating the foreground, a formation of Danish royal guards stands at attention, dressed in their iconic ceremonial uniforms. Their tall black bearskin hats, crisp red jackets with white crossbelts, and disciplined posture evoke the tradition and grandeur of the Danish monarchy. Each figure holds a musical instrument, contributing to the rhythmic pageantry of the scene as if they are mid-performance in a grand parade. Behind the guards, a striking architectural structure rises, featuring a geometric patterned facade of triangles and vibrant red and white towers. This design is reminiscent of Rosenborg Castle, a historic Renaissance palace in Copenhagen known for its regal architecture and connection to Denmark's royal history. The castle's stylized representation adds depth and a sense of place, grounding the scene in Danish cultural identity. Above the guards, a delightful array of aerial performers fills the sky with acrobatic energy. A whimsical clown, dressed in a green and yellow polka dot outfit, balances high above, embodying the playful spirit of Tivoli Gardens, Copenhagen's famous amusement park. Walt Disney himself was deeply inspired by Tivoli Gardens when designing Disneyland, admiring its balance of family-friendly attractions, festive atmosphere, and immaculate presentation. To the right of the clown, a figure dressed in bright colors dangles mid-air, caught in a daring pose, while another performer elegantly flips upside down, adding movement and theatricality to the composition. Further up, a pair of characters rides a bicycle suspended on a tightrope, their careful balance adding to the scene's sense of wonder and spectacle. To the right of the clown, another playful figure sits atop the structure, seemingly watching the festivities below. This character holds an upside-down umbrella that opens and closes as the boat passes, possibly representing a playful interpretation of a classic carnival trick or a nod to European street performers who use whimsical props to delight audiences. The motion of the umbrella adds an interactive, kinetic element to the scene, making it feel alive and responsive to the viewer's journey. This Danish-inspired scene encapsulates the essence of cultural pride and playful imagination, blending historical reverence with circus-like merriment. As the boat moves forward, guests are treated to a final glimpse of Denmark's rich storytelling, where regal grandeur and whimsical delight exist side by side. The boat glides under a grand structure, seemingly representing the iconic London Bridge, marking the transition into England. The bridge's tall towers, adorned with geometric patterns and Tudor-style timber framing, create a striking entrance to this lively scene. The bold yellow and red hues give the structure a warm and welcoming presence, standing out against the darker background. Above the bridge, a whimsical crescent moon, adorned with flowing golden ribbons, cradles three cheerful figures dressed in traditional English attire. The scene evokes a dreamy, nursery rhyme quality, reminiscent of the classic English tune, Hey Diddle Diddle. The moon's smiling face and soft glow enhance the enchanting atmosphere, reinforcing the fairy tale-like aesthetic of the attraction. To the left of the moon, a group of playful characters balances precariously atop the bridge. One holds a small flag reading School, suggesting a charming representation of British schoolchildren on an adventure. Their expressive faces and animated poses add an element of movement and storytelling, inviting guests to imagine the playful energy of childhood exploration. Beneath the bridge, a rich tapestry of English-inspired scenes unfolds in the distance. The architecture, painted in deep reds, purples, and golds, reflects elements of medieval castles and charming countryside villages. Hot air balloons and whimsical props scattered throughout the backdrop further enhance the sense of wonder, as if guests are being transported through a storybook version of England. This scene captures the heart of English tradition, balancing history with fantasy. The regal bridge, the playful schoolchildren, and the dreamy moonlit figures all contribute to a delightful and immersive moment that celebrates the charm and whimsy of England's cultural heritage. Standing proudly at the base of London Bridge, a charming figure represents one of England's most iconic ceremonial guardians, a beefeater. Dressed in a resplendent red and gold uniform, this miniature yeoman warder stands watch over the scene with a dignified yet whimsical presence. His round, doll-like face radiates warmth, making him an inviting yet steadfast figure in this storybook version of England. In his hand, he holds a ceremonial staff adorned with a golden tassel, a nod to the traditional weapons carried by the real-life guardians of the Tower of London. His black hat, adorned with blue and red accents, completes the regal ensemble, reinforcing his status as a protector of the realm. The cylindrical turret on which he stands, painted in bold red and black checkered patterns, resembles the medieval fortifications of the tower itself, further connecting him to England's long-standing traditions. The castle wall behind him, bathed in warm golden light, casts soft shadows that enhance the depth and texture of the scene. His position at the foot of London Bridge ties him visually to the grand structure above, emphasizing the connection between England's historical landmarks and its cultural heritage. High above London Bridge, the iconic figure of Peter Pan takes flight, soaring gracefully around a golden crescent moon. Dressed in his signature green tunic and hat, Peter's playful pose captures the spirit of eternal youth and adventure as he hovers effortlessly, arms outstretched as if guiding guests through the night sky. His presence brings an element of fantasy and magic, reinforcing England's deep connection to beloved literature and folklore. Below him, the crescent moon cradles three figures dressed in traditional English attire, holding books as if caught in a moment of song or storytelling. Their warm expressions and delicate details enhance the fairy tale quality of the scene, suggesting a dreamlike harmony between history and imagination. The moon itself, with its cheerful face and golden embellishments, radiates a welcoming glow, drawing the eye toward this enchanting spectacle. A soft, painted cloud drifts nearby, adding depth and dimension to the sky-bound setting. The interplay of lighting and shadow gives the illusion that Peter Pan is truly in motion, forever circling the moon in an endless flight of whimsy. This delightful scene, blending nursery rhyme charm with literary wonder, invites guests to embrace the magic of storytelling and imagination as they drift through this enchanting version of England. The journey through England continues with a whimsical tribute to Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. At the center of the scene, Alice stands gracefully in her signature blue dress and white pinafore, her golden hair neatly framing her cheerful expression. Beside her, the White Rabbit, dressed in royal red and white, clutches his trumpet, forever ready to announce the arrival of the Queen of Hearts. The setting is a playful reimagining of a chessboard, with oversized black and white squares covering the floor. Towering chess pieces, including a regal black king and an ornate queen, frame the scene, reinforcing the motif of Wonderland's famous game of strategy and unpredictability. The grand castle facade in the background, decorated with intricate Tudor-style patterns and Gothic windows, further immerses visitors in this stylized dreamscape. A clock tower looms above, its face softly illuminated, a subtle nod to the White Rabbit's ever-urgent race against time. The checkerboard patterns extend into the distance, blending seamlessly into the attraction's signature geometric aesthetic, merging fantasy with the stylized storytelling of It's a Small World. This enchanting moment captures the whimsical charm of Alice in Wonderland, seamlessly weaving Carroll's beloved tale into England's rich literary heritage. The journey through England continues with a striking display of regal tradition and architectural charm. At the forefront, a stoic Queen's Guard stands at attention within a red and white sentry box, his tall black bearskin hat and crisply buttoned uniform embodying the disciplined elegance of Buckingham Palace's ceremonial soldiers. The soft blue glow from inside the sentry box casts a dramatic contrast, emphasizing his solemn duty amid the whimsical surroundings. Beyond the guard, a stylized representation of England's historic architecture unfolds. Tudor-style facades, with their characteristic black and white timber framing, mix with crenellated castle walls, creating a seamless blend of medieval and Elizabethan design. To the right, a clock tower, adorned with glowing red lights, rises above the scene, its checkerboard patterns reinforcing the geometric aesthetic of the attraction. A golden chess piece, positioned near the castle walls, further connects this moment to England's rich heritage of strategy and storytelling, complementing the previous Wonderland-inspired scene. Above the rooftops, banners and decorative turrets add movement and grandeur, enhancing the fairy tale-like quality of the setting. The deep reds, blacks, and golds contrast with the softer pastels of the background, creating a dynamic visual depth. This scene encapsulates England's dual identity, both a land of tradition and a place of enduring enchantment. The journey through England continues with a picturesque garden scene, where perfectly manicured topiary trees, adorned with vibrant red Tudor roses, stand in elegant rows. Their spherical forms and delicate floral embellishments reflect the iconic English gardens known for their balance and precision. The Tudor rose, England's national flower, evokes a sense of history and heritage, symbolizing unity and tradition. To the right, a stoic Queen's Guard remains steadfast within a red and white striped sentry box. His tall black bearskin hat and formal red uniform stand in stark contrast to the soft organic forms of the garden, reinforcing the disciplined grandeur of England's royal traditions. The glowing blue light inside the sentry box adds a theatrical touch, casting a subtle aura around the figure and emphasizing his solemn duty. Beyond the garden, classic Tudor-style architecture rises with its distinctive black and white timber framing, complementing the regal charm of the scene. Further above, a clock tower with an illuminated face stands tall, echoing the prominence of England's historical landmarks. Near the top right of the scene, a stylized representation of Big Ben glows warmly, its golden light standing as a beacon of England's enduring legacy. The intricate details of the structures, paired with the lush ornamental garden, create a seamless blend of history, elegance, and storytelling. As the boat glides past, guests are immersed in a world where royal tradition and natural beauty harmonize, capturing the essence of England's timeless charm. The Tudor roses, grand architecture, ever-watchful guard, and the glowing presence of Big Ben invite visitors to experience a moment of England's cultural legacy through the whimsical lens of It's a Small World. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, the boat now enters France, where elegance and artistic grandeur take center stage. The foreground is filled with delicate white and blue stylized flowers, their soft hues and symmetrical shapes adding a sense of refinement and charm. These meticulously arranged blooms, dusted with a subtle shimmer, reflect France's rich tradition of garden artistry, evoking the beauty of the famous gardens of Versailles. Beyond the floral display, the background wall is adorned with a repeating pattern of golden fleur-de-lis, a timeless symbol of French royalty and heritage. This regal motif, along with the shimmering gold accents along the architecture, creates an atmosphere of sophistication and grandeur, transporting guests into the heart of France's cultural legacy. To the right, an ornate turret topped with a domed structure adds to the fairy tale-like ambiance, blending seamlessly with the soft pink and gold hues of the surrounding architecture. Above, elegantly dressed can-can dancers with feathered headdresses and vibrant pink costumes perform in a lively display of Parisian cabaret culture. Their theatrical movements and bold colors contrast beautifully with the serene floral foreground, capturing the dynamic spirit of France's artistic and musical heritage. As the boat drifts past this enchanting scene, guests are immersed in a world where natural beauty and artistic expression harmonize. The regal symbols, blooming gardens, and joyful dancers together celebrate France's timeless elegance, offering a glimpse into its legacy of romance, performance, and refinement. The boat continues through France, arriving at a dazzling celebration of Parisian nightlife. At the forefront, a lively troupe of can-can dancers twirls in perfect synchronization, their vibrant pink dresses billowing with each high kick. Their feathered headdresses, a striking mix of bold blue and fiery red, add to the spectacle, embodying the exuberant energy of the famed French cabaret. To the right, the unmistakable silhouette of the Eiffel Tower rises, its stylized form adorned with twinkling lights. This shimmering landmark stands as a beacon of French culture, framing the scene with its iconic elegance. Beneath its grand arch, a charming bistro setting is nestled, complete with delicate cafe chairs and a golden serving tray, evoking the romance and charm of a Parisian evening. Above, a festive awning adorned with playful red and white scallops stretches over the performance, adding a whimsical flourish that ties the entire composition together. The deep reds and warm golds of the background architecture, with its stylized rooftops and turrets, reinforce the scene's theatrical grandeur, transporting guests into the heart of France's artistic heritage. This vibrant moment captures the magic of Paris, blending the excitement of cabaret with the timeless beauty of the City of Lights. As the boat glides past, guests are invited to revel in the joyous celebration where music, dance, and romance unite in a dazzling tribute to French culture. The journey through France continues with a charming depiction of Cinderella, capturing the beloved fairy tale in its humble beginnings. Standing atop a golden platform, Cinderella wears her simple servant's dress, a soft green blouse, and an orange apron, her expression gentle and full of dreams. She is framed by an enchanting backdrop of stylized French chateaux, with elegant arches, turrets, and soft pastel hues that evoke the magic of a storybook kingdom. At her side, her loyal mouse companions, Jack and Gus, eagerly assist her, adding a playful touch to the scene. Jack, standing on a woven basket, appears to be excitedly whispering a plan, while Gus perches on a small wooden stool, looking up at Cinderella with admiration. Their tiny details and expressive poses bring warmth and life to the tableau, emphasizing the theme of friendship and perseverance. To the left, draped red curtains with shimmering accents frame the scene, adding theatrical flair and a sense of anticipation, as if the next chapter of Cinderella's transformation is about to unfold. Above, a small bluebird perches near the balcony railing, subtly referencing the magical help she will receive on her journey toward her happily ever after. This picturesque moment captures the heart of Cinderella's tale, where dreams, kindness, and a little bit of magic come together. As the boat drifts past, guests are reminded that even the most modest beginnings can lead to a fairy tale ending, embodying the timeless magic of It's a Small World. As the boat gently glides forward, the transition between France and Spain is marked by an elegant floating spectacle. Suspended above, a grand hot air balloon drifts through the sky, its delicate design adorned with golden fleur-de-lis, an unmistakable symbol of French heritage. The intricate patterns and warm glow of the balloon evoke the pioneering spirit of French aeronautics, perhaps a nod to the Montgolfier brothers, whose 18th century inventions paved the way for human flight. Beneath the balloon, a whimsical figure dangles in midair, embodying the adventurous spirit of early explorers and dreamers who sought to conquer the skies. Beyond the floating marvel, the landscape shifts into the rolling green hills of Spain, signaling the approach to a new cultural tableau. The lush countryside is reminiscent of Castilla-La Mancha, the storied region immortalized in Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote. It was here, amidst these very landscapes, that the famed literary knight embarked on his fantastical quests, mistaking windmills for fearsome giants. The rolling hills and warm golden tones of the background architecture pay homage to this legendary tale, seamlessly blending literature and history into the fabric of It's a Small World. The juxtaposition of the ornate French balloon against the rustic Spanish countryside creates a striking contrast, emphasizing the rich diversity of European culture. France's legacy of exploration and elegance floats high above, while Spain's deep literary and historical roots ground the scene below. Together, they weave a visual narrative of adventure, imagination, and the enduring influence of storytelling across generations. As the boat continues forward, guests are invited to gaze skyward at the drifting balloon and then back down to the timeless landscapes of Castilla-La Mancha, reflecting on the way dreams, whether of flight or of chivalric heroism, have shaped cultures and inspired countless journeys. High above the Spanish landscape, a radiant sun with an expressive face shines down over the scene, casting a warm, golden glow. Encased within a bold red geometric frame, the sun's stylized features and deep blue shading create a striking contrast against the dark background, giving it a dreamlike presence. This celestial figure, with its whimsical design, mirrors the surreal nature of Don Quixote's adventures, as if it, too, watches over the legendary knight's quest. Below the sun, an intricate wave-like pattern unfolds across the walls of the Spanish countryside, its undulating forms painted in warm golds and deep ochres. This flowing design evokes the rolling plains of Castilla-La Mancha, where winds ripple across vast fields and where Don Quixote once rode in search of glory. The repeated curves and layered arrangement lend a sense of motion to the static backdrop, subtly reinforcing the ever-turning blades of the windmills in the foreground. Together, the sun and the patterned landscape form a poetic visual metaphor, one that blends the grandeur of Spain's natural beauty with the rich imagination of its literary heritage. As the boat drifts past, guests are invited to bask in the warmth of this timeless story, where history, art, and mythology intertwine in perfect harmony. The journey deeper into Spain reveals a vibrant celebration of the nation's rich musical and architectural heritage. Two figures, each standing atop ornate red towers illuminated with warm golden light, bring to life the spirit of Spanish culture. On the left, a guitarist strums a lively tune, dressed in traditional Spanish attire with a wide-brimmed hat and flowing sleeves. His elevated position suggests a performance meant to echo across the courtyards and plazas of Spain, where music and storytelling are woven into daily life. To the right, a flamenco dancer, adorned in a ruffled dress decorated with bright patterns, raises her arms in an elegant pose. The movement captured in her sculpted form suggests the rhythmic footwork and expressive gestures that define flamenco, a dance deeply rooted in Spanish tradition. The presence of both music and dance in this scene highlights the emotional and artistic expression that is so integral to Spain's cultural identity. The architectural elements further reinforce the essence of Spain. The bold red and gold hues of the towers, detailed with intricate arches and domed accents, evoke the grandeur of Andalusian castles and Moorish-influenced palaces. The warm earth tones and wave-like patterns in the background pay tribute to the sun-drenched landscapes of southern Spain, known for their rolling hills and historic cities. This scene is a striking homage to the passion and artistry of Spain. The fusion of music, dance, and grand architecture immerses guests in the country's cultural vibrancy. As the boat glides past, the echoes of the guitarist's melody and the poised elegance of the flamenco dancer invite visitors to experience the soul of Spain, where every note, every step, and every archway tells a story. The journey through Spain continues with a tribute to one of its most legendary literary figures, Don Quixote. Atop a grand red tower, the valiant knight stands defiantly, lance in hand, ready to charge forward in his endless pursuit of chivalry. His wiry frame and determined pose reflect the iconic imagery from Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote, capturing the essence of a dreamer lost in his own heroic fantasies. Beside him, his loyal squire, Sancho Panza, watches over the scene, a steadfast companion on their famous adventures. Below, a cascading fountain glistens in the soft glow of the surrounding architecture, adding movement and elegance to the scene. The stylized water effect, shimmering with golden accents, recalls the ornate fountains found in historic Spanish courtyards, where intricate stonework and flowing water serve as symbols of life and prosperity. This detail enhances the grandeur of the setting, reinforcing Spain's deep appreciation for artistry and craftsmanship. The final scene of Spain brings guests face to face with one of the country's most iconic sights, the towering windmills of Castilla-La Mancha. Their stylized blades, adorned with geometric cutouts, spin slowly against the warm, golden backdrop, evoking the essence of Spain's historic landscapes. These windmills, forever linked to the adventures of Don Quixote, stand as symbols of imagination and the pursuit of dreams, capturing the enduring spirit of Cervantes' literary masterpiece. The surrounding architecture reflects Spain's diverse cultural heritage. Tall, narrow towers with arched windows and domed rooftops recall the architectural influences of Moorish Spain, while the rich red and orange hues mirror the sun-drenched tones of Andalusian cities. The intricate details, from the patterned walls to the curved staircases, immerse guests in a setting that feels both historical and fantastical, seamlessly blending reality with the whimsical aesthetic of It's a Small World. The composition of the scene creates a sense of movement and depth as the windmills rotate and the layered background elements extend the landscape beyond what is immediately visible. The use of shadow and warm lighting enhances the drama of the moment, casting a golden glow over the structures and reinforcing the timeless beauty of Spain's countryside. As the boat drifts past this final glimpse of Spain, guests are left with a lasting impression of the country's artistic and literary legacy. The windmills turn, the colors glow, and the echoes of Spain's history and storytelling continue onward, inviting travelers to carry the spirit of adventure with them into the next destination. The journey continues into Scotland, where the landscape transforms into a striking tapestry of rolling hills and medieval fortresses. The most distinctive feature of this scene is the bold use of tartan patterns, which cover the hills and background in deep reds, blues, and greens. This iconic design, deeply associated with Scottish heritage, represents the country's historic clans and their centuries-old traditions. Atop one of the plaid-covered hills stands a whimsical Highland cow, or coo, with its shaggy golden fur and expressive face. This beloved breed, known for its long horns and friendly demeanor, embodies the rugged charm of Scotland's countryside. Its placement high on the hill reinforces its status as a symbol of the Scottish Highlands, a region known for its breathtaking landscapes and pastoral beauty. To the right, a castle with towering turrets and crenellated walls rises above the scene, evoking the grandeur of Scotland's historic strongholds. The stylized battlements and vibrant colors blend medieval architecture with the playful aesthetic of It's a Small World, creating a dreamlike interpretation of Scotland's legendary past. Above the castle, a flowing banner catches the wind, suggesting a land of bravery and tradition. The overall composition of the scene captures Scotland's unique blend of history, nature, and folklore. The juxtaposition of the Tartan Hills, the watchful Highland cow, and the towering castle creates a visually dynamic and culturally rich moment in the attraction. As the boat glides past, guests are transported to a land of misty glens, ancient legends, and a spirit as enduring as the hills themselves. Standing high atop a stone tower, a lone bagpiper fills the air with the unmistakable sound of Scotland. Dressed in traditional Highland attire, he wears a vibrant tartan kilt and a towering black feathered hat, evoking the grandeur of Scottish ceremonial dress. The musician holds his bagpipes with practiced grace, his cheeks puffed as if mid-note, bringing to life the rich musical heritage of the Highlands. His presence atop the tower gives the impression of a grand performance echoing across the rugged Scottish landscape, a fitting tribute to a tradition that has endured for centuries. The tower itself is a striking structure, its cylindrical stone walls adorned with geometric tartan patterns that reinforce Scotland's deep-rooted connection to its clans and history. The crenellated battlements at the top lend the tower a medieval fortress-like appearance, suggesting the resilience and strength of Scotland's past. The muted greens and deep reds of the structure complement the surrounding plaid-covered hills, seamlessly blending into the stylized landscape. Together, the bagpiper and the tower create a powerful representation of Scotland's enduring spirit. As the boat glides past, the steady presence of the musician and the imposing height of the tower serve as reminders of a land steeped in tradition, where music and history are woven into the fabric of everyday life. The journey continues into Ireland, where a lush green landscape filled with shamrocks and folklore welcomes visitors. The rolling hills, covered in an array of oversized clovers, create a dreamlike setting, their deep greens glowing softly as if touched by magic. The abundance of shamrocks, a well-known symbol of Ireland, reinforces the country's rich traditions and deep connection to nature and mythology. At the heart of the scene, a grand harp rises above the landscape, its elegant curves adorned with intricate swirling patterns and gemstones. The harp, one of Ireland's most enduring national symbols, represents the country's deep musical heritage and storytelling tradition. Its presence adds a regal and poetic touch, evoking the sounds of traditional Irish melodies carried on the wind. Beneath the harp, three shimmering fairies with mischievous smiles and sparkling outfits add an air of enchantment. Their playful presence ties into Ireland's mythological roots, where fairies and other magical beings are said to inhabit the rolling hills and hidden glens. These figures, with their glittering attire, bring an ethereal energy to the scene, as if they are the keepers of Ireland's legendary magic. Just below them, two children dressed in traditional Irish attire stand amidst the clovers. The girl wears a white blouse and a long skirt, while the boy dons bright green trousers and a vest, both appearing to celebrate in joyful harmony. Their presence reflects the warmth and community spirit of Irish culture, where dance, song, and storytelling play a central role in daily life. At the forefront, a cheerful leprechaun, dressed in a shimmering blue coat and matching hat, stands proudly among the shamrocks. With his bright eyes and knowing grin, he embodies the playful and mischievous nature of Irish folklore. His prominent position in the scene, with arms outstretched in welcome, invites guests to embrace the magic and wonder of Ireland. In the background, perched atop a rolling green hill, a castle stands tall, its pointed turrets and sturdy stone walls recalling the medieval fortresses that dot the Irish countryside. The castle's silhouette against the dark sky adds a sense of history and grandeur to the scene, reinforcing Ireland's deep-rooted legacy of myth and legend. Its presence serves as a reminder of Ireland's past, where kings, warriors, and storytellers shaped the nation's enduring cultural identity. The scene captures the essence of Ireland's vibrant mythology, musical legacy, and natural beauty. As the boat glides past, the glowing clovers, mythical fairies, towering castle, and spirited figures create an atmosphere of joy and enchantment, ensuring that Ireland's rich cultural heritage is celebrated in a way that is both timeless and magical. Looking up from the rolling green hills of Ireland, the scene extends into the sky, where whimsical hot air balloons drift high above the landscape. Their colorful designs, adorned with intricate patterns and delicate trim, add a sense of adventure and wonder to the scene, evoking a time of grand exploration and discovery. The deep blues, reds, and golds of the balloons contrast beautifully against the darkened ceiling, making them appear as if they are floating effortlessly through the night sky. Suspended beneath the balloons, small figures dangle playfully, as if caught mid-journey on their airborne voyage. Their presence enhances the sense of whimsy and motion, suggesting a world where anything is possible and where even the skies are filled with magic. The twinkling lights that line the edges of the balloons cast a gentle glow, adding to the dreamlike quality of the moment. Below, the towering harp from the previous scene remains visible, its elegant frame reaching upward toward the floating spectacle above. This connection between earth and sky reinforces Ireland's rich history of storytelling, music, and imagination. The harp, a national symbol of Ireland, grounds the scene, while the soaring balloons speak to the limitless creativity and folklore that have defined Irish culture for centuries. As the journey continues into the Low Countries, the vibrant cultures of Holland and Belgium come to life in a charming display of color, movement, and tradition. On the right, Holland is instantly recognizable by its iconic windmills, their pastel blades gently turning against the dark sky. These structures, with their geometric patterns and stylized shapes, symbolize the Netherlands' mastery of water management and agricultural innovation. In the foreground, a lively field of tulips stretches across the scene, their bold silhouettes glowing in shades of blue and purple. These beloved flowers, synonymous with Dutch culture, create a rhythmic visual pattern that mirrors the gentle motion of the windmills above. Among the tulips, 3 cheerful figures emerge from oversized blossoms, their traditional Dutch attire sparkling under the lights. With their traditional Dutch headwear, including a bright blue sailor's cap and classic white Dutch bonnets, wooden clogs, and colorful clothing, they embody the playful charm of Holland's rich folklore. The tulips cradling the children reinforce the Netherlands' deep connection to flowers, making it appear as though they are blooming directly from the land itself, a whimsical nod to Holland's world-famous spring gardens. To the left, the architectural elegance of Belgium unfolds with delicate lace-like detailing and soft pastel tones. A striking facade adorned with intricate white cutouts rises in the background, evoking the craftsmanship of Belgium's famous lacework. At the center, a small group of white geese stands in formation, nodding to the country's deep connection to rural traditions and animal husbandry. Above them, a figure dressed in classic Belgian attire welcomes visitors with a warm expression, reinforcing the sense of hospitality and charm that defines this region. Together, the elements of Holland and Belgium create a harmonious composition that celebrates both nations' artistic and agricultural legacies. The delicate lace patterns of Belgium contrast beautifully with the bold tulip fields of Holland, while the windmills and geese bring a sense of motion and life to the scene. The journey into Italy begins with a warm welcome from one of the country's most beloved literary and cinematic characters, Pinocchio. Framed by an illuminated red and gold theater window, the wooden puppet appears mid-motion, his expressive face filled with excitement, as if greeting visitors with open arms. The glowing lights surrounding him enhance the feeling of a grand performance, echoing the charm of Italian puppet theater, which has entertained audiences for centuries. The vibrant red curtain, drawn back to reveal him, reinforces the theatrical nature of the scene, making it feel as though we've stepped into a classic Italian marionette show. High above in a small, softly lit balcony, another familiar figure watches over the scene, Jiminy Cricket. His presence, subtle yet significant, symbolizes Pinocchio's conscience and guidance, a reminder of the puppet's journey toward becoming a real boy. Perched within the whimsical architecture, Jiminy serves as a beacon of wisdom, much like the guiding stars that have long been part of Italian folklore and exploration history. The architectural splendor of Italy unfolds in a dazzling array of geometric patterns, intricate details, and warm Mediterranean hues. The buildings, with their domes, arches, and pointed rooftops, evoke the grandeur of Venice, Florence, and Rome, blending iconic elements of Italian design into a single harmonious composition. The use of deep reds, pinks, and golds reflects the sun-drenched tones of Italy's historic cities, while the shimmering accents capture the essence of light dancing across the canals. In the upper right corner, a cluster of glowing stars twinkles against the deep blue background, adding a celestial element to the scene. These luminous shapes seem to evoke Italy's long legacy of astronomy and exploration, reminiscent of Galileo's discoveries and the Renaissance fascination with the cosmos. Their placement high above the cityscape suggests a dreamlike connection between Italy's architectural achievements and its contributions to science and philosophy. The lower left quarter of the frame is adorned with intricate decorative patterns, each adding to the richness of the scene. A stylized grapevine motif winds its way across the facade, a nod to Italy's world-renowned winemaking tradition. The elegant curling tendrils and delicate leaves reinforce the country's deep agricultural heritage and its cultural ties to food and festivity. Below the grapevines, geometric patterns echo the ornate floor mosaics and frescoes found in historic Italian villas and palaces. Standing prominently throughout the scene, a series of striped poles rises from the foreground, reminiscent of the mooring poles found along the canals of Venice. Their spiraling colors and gilded finials add a sense of movement and verticality, guiding the eye upward toward the grand palaces and cathedrals above. These poles not only enhance the composition, but also serve as a subtle reminder of Venice's unique landscape, where boats replace streets and the water becomes an integral part of daily life. The journey through Italy continues with a stunning tableau celebrating its most iconic landmarks and cultural traditions. At the forefront, a gondolier dressed in a white shirt and striped sash navigates a glittering golden gondola, a signature Venetian vessel. The gondola's curved prow and ornate decorations shimmer under the lights, embodying the elegance and romance of Venice's waterways. The gondolier's lively posture and expressive face convey the joy and vibrancy of Italian music and storytelling, as if he is singing a traditional serenade to passing visitors. Towering above the scene, the unmistakable silhouette of the Leaning Tower of Pisa tilts playfully, its golden glow adding a dreamlike quality to its presence. The tower's exaggerated angle is a charming nod to its real-life architectural anomaly, making it one of the most recognizable structures in the world. To its left, a grand building with an arched colonnade and golden domes rises, evoking the grandeur of medieval Italian architecture. The symmetrical arches and rich detailing reflect influences from historic cathedrals and palaces found throughout Tuscany and beyond. In the lower portion of the scene, 3 children dressed in traditional Italian attire stand side by side, their hands holding open songbooks as they appear to sing in unison. The girl on the left wears a white headscarf and a long patterned dress, while the boy in the center sports a wide-brimmed hat and rustic brown trousers. The girl on the right wears a similar headscarf, her detailed dress echoing Italy's deep-rooted folk traditions. Their placement, along with the expressive joy in their faces, suggests they are part of a grand musical celebration, capturing the country's rich operatic and choral heritage. Above them, 3 additional figures stand atop the tiered cityscape, dressed in colorful skirts and bodices that resemble traditional Italian festival attire. Their bright costumes and poised expressions make them appear as if they are welcoming travelers with open arms, embodying the warmth and hospitality of Italy. The rich red and gold hues of the architecture surrounding them reinforce the splendor and pageantry of Italian culture, where art, music, and history blend seamlessly into everyday life. The Italian scene in It's a Small World is a masterful composition of architecture, cultural icons, and layered depth, all working together to immerse guests in a dreamlike vision of Italy. Every element, whether grand landmarks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the decorative gondolas, or the luminous constellations above, contributes to a harmonious balance that captures the spirit of the country in a vibrant, stylized way. One of the most striking aspects of the scene is its ability to create depth and perspective, despite being a flat, theatrical display. The canals at the bottom of the frame, complete with gently curving bridges and striped mooring poles, establish a sense of movement and scale. These darkened waterways contrast with the brightly lit city above, giving the illusion that the grand buildings rise far beyond the foreground. The layering of arches, balconies, and domes builds a dynamic skyline, leading the eye upward to the glowing stars and deep blue sky, enhancing the sense of vastness within the contained space of the ride. The architecture itself plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance of the composition. On the left side, detailed palaces with geometric patterns and delicate embellishments evoke Venice's historic facades, while the right side features more rigid, fortress-like structures reminiscent of medieval Italian castles. These distinct architectural styles blend seamlessly, united by a warm palette of reds, golds, and pinks that bathe the entire scene in an inviting glow. The illuminated arches, spires, and checkerboard patterns provide a rhythmic visual repetition, reinforcing the playfulness of the design while also mimicking the symmetry often found in Italian cityscapes. The elements of storytelling also contribute to the scene's sense of unity. Pinocchio's stage presence, the gondolier's poised stance, the singing children, and the festive dancers all work together to depict a country that celebrates its artistic heritage. Rather than feeling like separate vignettes, These characters interact within the space, engaging in a shared performance that reflects Italy's deep love for theater, opera, and lively public gatherings. Above it all, the starry sky adds a final layer of wonder. The twinkling constellations connect the earthly beauty of Italy's canals and architecture with the celestial grandeur that has inspired its artists and scientists for centuries. This interplay of land, water, and sky ties the entire scene together, making it feel immersive, enchanting, and deeply connected to Italy's historical and cultural identity. As the boat glides forward, the carefully balanced elements ensure that every visitor is left with a sense of awe, as if they've just drifted through a poetic musical love letter to Italy. The journey now ascends into the heart of Switzerland, where towering alpine peaks form a dramatic backdrop to a charming mountain village. The landscape is painted in cool blues and greens, evoking the crisp air and rolling hills of the Swiss countryside. The stylized mountains, with their jagged silhouettes, create a striking contrast to the warm, glowing foreground, where traditional Swiss elements come to life in vibrant detail. At the center of the scene, 4 chalet-style cuckoo clocks perch high on the hillside, each adorned with delicate floral motifs and heart-shaped pendants. Within these miniature structures, animated wooden figures stand at attention, dressed in traditional Swiss Guard uniforms with feathered hats and gilded accents. Their toy-like precision recalls the rich craftsmanship of Swiss clockmakers, a tradition deeply embedded in the country's cultural heritage. The lower slopes of the mountain burst with oversized alpine flowers, their petals glowing softly in shades of orange, pink, and green. These stylized blooms, reminiscent of Switzerland's famous Edelweiss, reinforce the theme of natural beauty and national pride. Amidst the flowers, 2 cheerful mountain goats stand poised on the hillside, their curved horns and playful expressions capturing the spirit of the rugged Swiss landscape. A lone figure at the base of the hill, dressed in traditional Swiss attire, greets visitors with an air of hospitality. His wide-brimmed hat and embroidered vest pay homage to the cultural dress of alpine herders and yodelers, who have long been the storytellers and musicians of Switzerland's pastoral regions. His presence, combined with the intricate folk art patterns that adorn the buildings and landscape, creates a scene that feels both welcoming and steeped in tradition. Switzerland's representation in It's a Small World serves as a visual anchor between the warm, intricate architecture of Italy to the right and the structured, half-timbered charm of Germany to the left. The composition is carefully arranged to create a sense of verticality and depth, with towering alpine peaks dominating the backdrop and gradually descending into rolling green hills. This contrast in elevation helps guide the eye naturally from the higher elements at the back of the scene down to the water level, reinforcing a sense of depth and movement within the tableau. The use of perspective is particularly effective in this scene, as the mountains appear to recede into the background while the foreground slopes gently downward toward the passing boats. The placement of architectural elements and floral decorations along the incline further enhances this sense of scale, making the landscape feel vast and immersive. The perspective also works to create a natural progression between the Swiss village and the adjacent scenes, ensuring that the transition between countries feels seamless and organic. Scale is a crucial factor in maintaining the visual coherence of the scene. The exaggerated size of the alpine flowers in the foreground serves both a decorative and practical purpose, reinforcing the stylized aesthetic of the attraction while also providing a bridge between the human figures and the mountainous landscape. The mountains themselves are rendered in an intentionally abstract manner, their jagged peaks softened by a painterly use of color and light that ensures they do not overpower the scene, but instead provide a balanced, harmonious backdrop. Lighting plays an essential role in defining the mood of the Swiss setting. Cool greens and blues dominate the mountains, suggesting crisp alpine air and a sense of tranquility, while warmer tones in the foreground elements create a welcoming and lively contrast. The interplay of light and shadow across the landscape adds a dynamic quality, giving depth to the layers of hills and peaks. This thoughtful use of illumination also aids in differentiating Switzerland from the richer, more saturated hues of Italy and the structured darkness of Germany. The order and harmony of the scene are achieved through a careful balance of geometric precision and organic forms. The symmetry of the chalet-style structures and decorative elements creates a rhythmic consistency that reinforces the cultural identity of the setting. At the same time, the curving lines of the hills and the scattered arrangement of flowers prevent the scene from feeling overly rigid, allowing for a natural flow that invites the viewer to take in the details at a leisurely pace. The balance between man-made and natural elements ensures that the scene remains both visually engaging and thematically cohesive, allowing Switzerland to serve as both a focal point and a transition within the larger European narrative of It's a Small World. Perched atop an elevated balcony, three musicians bring Germany to life with their instruments, a trumpet, an accordion, and a tuba. Their traditional Bavarian attire, complete with feathered hats, reinforces the regional character of this scene. A small clock tower with a rooster weather vane rises behind them, evoking the iconic cuckoo clocks for which Germany is famous. The clock face is set within a peaked red structure, flanked by two smaller rooftops, further emphasizing the charm of Alpine architecture. Below the musicians, a scalloped railing adorned with floral patterns adds a touch of folk artistry. The warm yellow glow beneath the balcony enhances the sense of festivity, as though the scene were illuminated by lantern light. To the left, stylized flowers and foliage extend outward, introducing a touch of nature to the structured composition. On the right side, clock towers with pointed rooftops and geometric designs create a rhythmic visual pattern, leading the viewer's eye across the scene. Their inclusion further reinforces Germany's reputation for precision craftsmanship and ornate timepieces. The German scene in It's a Small World is ingeniously constructed over and around the boat passageway, seamlessly integrating architectural elements with the ride's path. This design creates an immersive transition, making visitors feel as though they are drifting beneath a charming Bavarian village. The archway itself is framed by a traditional half-timbered structure, reinforcing the cultural authenticity of the scene. On the right side, beneath the clock towers, the facades of buildings feature intricate details that contribute to the depth and texture of the environment. Windows with contrasting shutters, ornate trim, and decorative patterns create a sense of lived-in space, as if peering into a bustling European town. The pastel color palette mixed with deep reds and gold accents enhances the warm, fairy tale quality of the setting. Above, the scene balances itself with towers and rooftops extending upward, creating a strong vertical presence that complements the horizontal movement of the boats below. The careful layering of structures, from the foreground elements like the clock towers to the background silhouettes of German architecture, provides a sense of depth and scale. This interplay between structural order and playful folk art embellishments encapsulates the harmonious aesthetic that defines this section of the ride. By positioning elements around the archway, the design cleverly maximizes space while preserving the flow of the attraction, allowing Germany's charm to envelop guests as they pass through. As guests pass under the grand archway of Germany and transition into Russia, they are greeted by a striking illuminated poster on the left wall. This vibrant display serves as a bridge between regions, offering a visual and linguistic celebration of global unity. The warm golden background evokes a welcoming glow, reinforcing the ride's overarching theme of harmony among cultures. The design elements seamlessly weave together symbols from various parts of the world, creating a tapestry of international representation. At the center of the poster, architectural motifs from diverse cultures are prominently featured. A Russian onion dome, reminiscent of St. Basil's Cathedral, stands as a symbol of Eastern European heritage. Adjacent to it, a bright red Japanese torii gate represents the entrance to sacred Shinto sites, signifying passage and spiritual significance. Below, the elegant curves of a mosque's domes and arches reference Islamic architecture, while pyramid-like structures evoke the grandeur of ancient Egypt. These landmarks, though simplified into stylized geometric forms, instantly convey a sense of place, inviting guests to recognize and appreciate the world's architectural diversity. The upper right corner features a stylized sun with a human face, a motif often found in traditional folk art from various cultures. Its radiating warmth visually ties the poster's message together, emphasizing enlightenment, welcome, and shared human experience. Beneath it, the word hello appears in bold, accompanied by its translations in several global languages: ni hao in Chinese, konnichiwa in Japanese, shalom in Hebrew, and merhaba in Arabic. Each one greets guests in a unique script, reinforcing the ride's mission of cultural exchange and understanding. The careful selection of these languages highlights the universality of communication, transcending borders and fostering a spirit of togetherness. Beyond its aesthetic appeal, the poster embodies the essence of It's a Small World, a visual reminder that despite our differences, we are all connected. Its placement at a transitional point in the ride emphasizes the seamless blending of cultures as guests leave one region and enter another. As the boats glide forward, the passageway transitions seamlessly from Europe into a region representing Russia, Greece, Arabia, Israel, and India. The cutout shapes of the archways are not merely decorative, but serve to subtly introduce the architectural motifs of the upcoming scenes. The first archway, with its pointed silhouette, recalls the onion domes of Russian Orthodox churches, such as those found in St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. This immediately signals the transition into a more Eastern aesthetic, setting the tone for the domes and spires that will soon come into view. Beyond the Russian influence, the arches also bear resemblance to the classical architecture of Greece. The smooth, curving forms echo the entryways of ancient Greek temples and amphitheaters, preparing the viewer for the upcoming depiction of Greek culture. Further along, the passageway narrows and takes on a more horseshoe-shaped curve, reminiscent of Islamic architecture. This stylistic choice evokes the grand arches of Arabian mosques and palaces, as well as the gateways of Jerusalem, blending the artistic styles of the Middle East. The pointed keyhole-like entrances reference architectural elements found in Israel, including those seen in the Old City of Jerusalem. Finally, as the boats move forward, the influence of Indian architecture begins to emerge. The scalloped edges of the passageway hint at the intricate Mughal arches found in Indian palaces and temples, creating a seamless transition into the colorful, domed structures of India. This series of archways not only defines the physical journey of the ride, but also serves as a visual cue, gently guiding guests through distinct regions without the need for overt markers. The gradual transformation of shapes reflects the blending of cultures, mirroring the ride's overarching theme of unity and connection through architectural harmony. As the boats continue their journey, the whimsical landscape shifts into a stylized vision of Russia, where golden onion domes rise above geometric facades, evoking the grandeur of Russian Orthodox architecture. The domes, with their scalloped edges and intricate patterns, are reminiscent of the Assumption Cathedral in the Moscow Kremlin, a historic structure whose gilded cupolas have long been a symbol of Russian heritage. Below, a rounded turret adorned with floral motifs and shimmering accents recalls the Kazan Cathedral in St. Petersburg, known for its sweeping colonnades and domed silhouette. This structure provides a sense of architectural depth, reinforcing the fairy tale-like aesthetic of the scene. Along the base of the platform, symmetrical floral patterns are etched into the surface, their curling forms resembling the decorative wood carvings found in Russian folk art and the intricate embroidery seen on traditional sarafans and shawls. These motifs further emphasize the fusion of architectural grandeur with folk-inspired design, a signature element of Mary Blair's artistic vision. A trio of musicians, clad in traditional Russian folk attire with fur-lined hats and embroidered tunics, plays lively melodies, evoking the spirited performances seen in Russian village celebrations. Behind them, stylized leaf-like shapes sprout from the background, their curving forms echoing the swirling patterns of Russian lacquerware and the ornate detailing of Slavic manuscript illustrations. Their abstract, organic silhouettes soften the rigid geometry of the surrounding structures, creating a harmonious balance between nature and architecture. Above the musicians, a group of toy soldiers in teal uniforms and towering fuzzy hats performs a synchronized dance within an arched alcove. Their high kicks echo the discipline of the Kremlin's changing of the guard ceremony, while their stylized staging recalls the opulent interiors of the Winter Palace. The rich color palette, dominated by deep blues, warm golds, and vibrant reds, enhances the sense of Russian artistry, blending folk traditions with grand architectural elements. Through its playful yet respectful depiction, this scene captures the heart of Russian culture, seamlessly connecting the country's historical landmarks with the ride's overarching theme of unity and celebration. As the boats drift forward, if you turn around and look behind you at the Russian scene, it unfolds in a carefully composed arrangement of shapes, colors, and light. The stage is set with a multi-tiered display of figures and structures, each element playing a role in an intricate visual symphony. The composition is both dynamic and structured, with a strong sense of verticality, drawing the eye upward toward the domes and figures, while the curved forms of the platforms create movement and flow. Balance is key to the arrangement. On the left, the large rounded platform, topped with singing dolls and elegant folk dresses, anchors the scene. Their soft curves contrast with the sharper angular forms found on the right, where a second, more elaborate structure rises. This layered tower, with its deep magenta base and glowing golden alcove, provides a counterweight, ensuring the composition remains visually stable despite its asymmetry. The use of repetition, seen in the rows of scalloped awnings, the cascading onion domes, and the orderly placement of figures, creates a rhythmic harmony across the scene. Light plays a crucial role in defining depth and drawing attention to focal points. The warm glow emanating from the archway on the right contrasts with the cooler blue and purple hues that dominate the scene, naturally guiding the viewer's eye toward the heart of the composition. Meanwhile, the stars scattered across the deep black backdrop add a subtle sense of atmosphere, reinforcing the impression that this vignette exists in a dreamlike, timeless world. The sun motif on the far right of the frame serves as a visual counterpoint to the glowing architecture. With its radiating golden form, it mirrors the artificial lighting within the scene, suggesting a celestial presence that complements the earthly structures below. Similarly, on the left, the stylized stars scattered across the dark background evoke a nighttime ambiance, adding to the theatrical illusion that this miniature world exists under its own vast sky. At the bottom right, a series of jagged, geometric mountains creates an intriguing contrast. Their dark, angular forms push against the smooth, rounded platforms above, adding depth and reinforcing perspective. They serve as a grounding element, making the higher structures feel even more grand and elevated in comparison. The placement of these peaks also helps frame the scene, subtly directing attention back toward the central action. Towering white columns rise against a deep black sky, their simple geometric forms evoking the ruins of ancient Greece in a stylized, dreamlike way. Atop the structure, a small figure in traditional Greek attire sits with a flute in hand, wrapped in a blue patterned shawl. His presence, serene yet playful, recalls the wandering musicians and poets of antiquity, whose melodies might have once echoed through marble amphitheaters. The architecture is reduced to its most essential elements: angular pediments, delicate spiral motifs, and gilded embellishments that shimmer under the warm lighting. The structures feel both monumental and weightless, as though floating in a world beyond time. The exaggerated scale of the columns, in contrast to the diminutive figures, amplifies the sense of grandeur, making the childlike musician appear as a lone storyteller atop a forgotten temple. Two blue goats, their textured forms reminiscent of mosaic or folk embroidery, stand at different levels, their expressions frozen in mid-play. They introduce a sense of movement and whimsy, nodding to the agrarian traditions of Greece, where goats have roamed the rocky hillsides for centuries. Their placement also enhances the composition, leading the eye upward toward the musician and balancing the weight of the scene across the structures. In the background, golden sunbursts glow softly against the black void, their jagged shapes a striking contrast to the rigid, classical architecture. These celestial accents further remove the scene from realism, placing it in a theatrical space where mythology and reality blur together. To the right, a portion of an ornate frieze suggests the presence of a larger temple beyond view, its swirling patterns reinforcing the connection to ancient Greek artistry. This carefully composed tableau distills the essence of Greece into a single poetic moment. Through abstraction, color, and light, it captures not just the physical aesthetics of Greek culture, but its spirit, where music, mythology, and architecture intertwine in an eternal harmony. As the boats drift into the next scene, the architecture and colors shift into a stylized vision of Arabia. Warm golden hues illuminate the facades of the buildings, their pointed archways and domed rooftops recalling the palaces and marketplaces of Middle Eastern folklore. At the center, a grand mosque-like structure stands tall, its facade featuring a large keyhole arch, flanked by decorative geometric motifs and delicate floral accents. The draped golden fabric hanging from its windows evokes the luxurious interiors of royal palaces. At the forefront, a group of figures clad in flowing robes and ornate veils performs a rhythmic dance, their tambourines poised mid-motion. Their garments, in shades of orange, gold, and deep blue, echo the rich textile traditions of the region, with metallic embellishments that catch the light as they move. Below them, a row of tall, rounded archways supported by slender columns creates an open arcade, a common feature in Islamic architecture, reminiscent of grand bazaars and palace courtyards. To the side, a musician in a striped headscarf sits in a moment of concentration, playing a traditional flute, while beside him a trio of veiled figures stands in quiet harmony. Surrounding the figures, oversized plants with glittering green leaves add an element of nature to the scene. These stylized plants resemble agave or desert succulents, their exaggerated, layered forms providing a lush contrast to the geometric precision of the buildings. Behind them, tall, dark silhouettes of palm trees rise against the wall, reinforcing the desert setting. Among them, a series of oval-shaped trees with smooth, rounded canopies stand in the background, their appearance resembling the cypress trees often seen in Mediterranean and Middle Eastern landscapes. The combination of these elements evokes the oasis gardens found throughout the Middle East, where greenery flourishes despite the arid climate. To the right, a single figure in blue and white plays a flute beneath a domed alcove, representing Israel. The alcove itself is decorated with ornate detailing reminiscent of ancient synagogues and Middle Eastern stonework, with carved reliefs adorning the entryway. The simplicity of this moment stands in contrast to the elaborate detailing of the Arabian scene before it, creating a gentle pause before the journey continues. Just below, a playful monkey perches on the ledge, its presence adding a sense of mischief and liveliness to the tableau. The creature, with its curled tail and expressive face, recalls the depiction of monkeys in Middle Eastern and Mediterranean folklore, where they often serve as clever companions or trickster figures. Above it all, the sky is alive with movement as flying carpets soar overhead. The figures aboard, dressed in regal attire, wave joyfully as they glide through the air. The carpets, with their intricate borders and rich patterns, float effortlessly against the dark backdrop, reinforcing the sense of wonder and fantasy that defines this scene. Their placement at varying heights adds layers of perspective, creating a feeling of depth and grandeur. A grand fountain, adorned with intricate geometric patterns, stretches toward the iconic Taj Mahal, its domes and minarets shimmering with gold and blue accents. The architectural design draws direct inspiration from this Mughal masterpiece, with pointed arches and delicate ornamental details reflecting the artistic heritage of India. The symmetry of the scene emphasizes the regal quality of the setting, with performers and musicians arranged in structured formations along the water's edge and surrounding platforms. Reflected in the water, a line of dancers dressed in flowing pink and purple garments moves gracefully, their hands poised in traditional mudras. The delicate gold embroidery on their outfits catches the light, accentuating their rhythmic movements. Each doll's expression remains joyful, capturing the celebratory spirit of Indian dance, reminiscent of classical Bharatanatyam or Kathak performances. To the right, a raised platform hosts a lively ensemble of musicians and dancers. Drummers dressed in red with golden turbans strike their instruments, creating an imagined beat that guides the movements of the figures around them. A dancer in a peach-colored outfit plays a stringed instrument, possibly inspired by the sitar, adding to the festive atmosphere. Their placement at varying heights adds depth and layers to the composition, making the scene feel dynamic and immersive. Surrounding the performance, large stylized plants with shimmering green leaves frame the structures, evoking the lush gardens often associated with Indian palaces and temples. These oversized decorative elements add a touch of fantasy to the scene, while their symmetrical arrangement reinforces the sense of order and balance within the composition. In the foreground, a snake charmer in a vibrant red turban sits cross-legged, playing his flute as a cobra rises from a basket, a whimsical nod to traditional Indian street performances. The Taj Mahal itself, with its domed rooftops and intricate lattice-like patterns, stands as the focal point of the scene. Flanked by two smaller structures with teal onion domes, its ornate facade is a tribute to one of India's most recognizable architectural masterpieces. The combination of warm gold tones, rich jewel-like blues, and soft pastels creates a harmonious color palette that enhances the dreamlike quality of the setting. The scene transitions into a lush, layered display of Indonesia and Thailand, where stepped terraces create a sense of height and depth. At the center, a grand temple with a deep blue entrance stands illuminated, its pointed archway and delicate floral motifs reminiscent of traditional Thai architecture. A shadowy dancing figure is projected onto the glowing backdrop, evoking the grace of classical Thai dance forms. Flanking the temple, tiered golden stupas with intricate decorative elements further emphasize the Southeast Asian aesthetic, their shimmering surfaces catching the light. Descending the terraces, Balinese dancers dressed in ornate golden headdresses and patterned garments move in synchrony, their precise hand gestures and poised postures reflective of traditional Legong dance. The rich textures and vibrant colors of their attire contrast with the cool green tones of the surrounding stylized jungle foliage. At their feet, a strikingly large tiger lounges along the steps, its expressive face blending playfulness with the mystique of the wild. Above them, musicians seated in structured formations play traditional Indonesian gamelan instruments. The ensemble, clad in gold and red, strikes metallic percussion instruments, contributing to the imagined rhythm of the scene. Their detailed costumes, complete with decorative headpieces, add to the visual grandeur, reinforcing the deep cultural heritage of the region. To the side, Thai dancers perform with ornate golden crowns and tiered headpieces, balancing delicately as they enact the refined movements of classical Thai dance. Each figure is positioned with purpose, creating symmetry and balance within the composition. The stepped platforms they occupy mirror the design of ancient temple grounds where performances often take place as offerings to the divine. Surrounding the entire display, dense layers of tropical plants with oversized glittering leaves frame the structures, evoking the abundant rainforests of the region. Towering palm-like trees and stylized foliage provide a sense of enclosure, making the scene feel both immersive and theatrical. Their deep greens and shimmering surfaces contrast with the structured architecture, striking a balance between nature and design. Together, the elements of this scene seamlessly blend the cultural traditions of Indonesia and Thailand, celebrating their shared artistic heritage through dance, music, and architecture. The use of elevation, vibrant colors, and decorative details ensures a dynamic and immersive visual experience, inviting guests to step into a world of storytelling and ritual. As the boat glides forward, the entire Asia section of It's a Small World unfolds in a carefully orchestrated composition, balancing three distinct cultural vignettes, South Korea, Japan, and China, into a seamless visual experience. The arrangement of each country is layered in perspective, leading the eye naturally from one section to the next, reinforcing the sense of an interconnected world. On the left, South Korea's performers stand elevated, their bright blue costumes and rhythmic stances drawing attention upward. The angled placement of their platform allows them to blend smoothly into the rising rooftops and sweeping curves of Japan's architecture in the center. The central section acts as a focal point, with its deep red hues, torii gate, and elegant rooflines, providing a bold contrast against the softer pastels of Korea and China. The torii gate itself serves as a compositional anchor, guiding the viewer's gaze through the space and framing the transition between cultures. To the right, China extends into the scene with its moon bridge, acrobats, and floating kites. The dynamic arch of the bridge contrasts with the more rigid verticality of Japan's structures, creating a sense of movement that leads the eye through the display. The cool blues and golds of China provide a color balance to the deep reds of Japan and the warm golden tones of Korea, ensuring that no single section overwhelms the others. The lighting in this scene enhances the depth and perspective, with warm highlights illuminating architectural details, while cool shadows recede into the background, lending the illusion of space within the confined environment of the attraction. Floating elements like kites and lanterns add height and balance to the composition, reinforcing the theme of celebration and interconnectedness. Together, the arrangement of South Korea, Japan, and China forms a harmonious visual flow, where cultural distinctions are maintained while blending seamlessly into a unified artistic vision. The scene achieves a sense of depth, movement, and balance, ensuring that guests experience a continuous journey rather than separate moments, all within the whimsical, stylized world of It's a Small World. Suspended high above the Thailand scene, a golden sun figure radiates warmth and tranquility, its face calm and watchful as it surveys the vibrant festivities below. The circular shape, with delicate rods extending outward, evokes the stylized depictions of the sun found in traditional Southeast Asian art, where celestial bodies are often linked to divinity and protection. Draped with a flowing white scarf, the sun takes on an even more mystical quality, reminiscent of Fa Kao Ma, a traditional Thai cloth often used in ceremonies and as an offering at temples. The scarf's lines at the bottom, a common feature in Thai textiles, may represent waves of energy or celestial rays, and in some traditions, the number of lines can carry symbolic meaning, indicating different aspects of cosmic balance. The presence of this golden sun calls to mind the iconic lyrics of It's a Small World, where the phrase, "one golden sun," symbolizes unity and warmth shining down on people across the globe. Here, in the heart of the attraction, the sun serves as both a literal and metaphorical beacon, reinforcing the ride's message of harmony and interconnectedness. Positioned above the grand temple and lush tropical foliage, it bridges the heavens and the earth, underscoring the spiritual themes embedded in Thai culture. The golden spheres protruding from the sun's edges, resembling celestial orbs, are frequently seen in Thai and Balinese depictions of divine radiance, symbolizing enlightenment and spiritual energy. In Hindu-Buddhist art, golden halos and sun discs surrounding deities represent supreme wisdom and divine blessing. Similarly, the dot on the forehead and dramatic eye makeup reflect the influence of Lakan Nai and Kan theater traditions, where exaggerated features are used to convey celestial beings and mythological figures. These facial markings can also be associated with Balinese barong masks, which embody protective spirits and cosmic forces in Indonesian folklore. The soft, glowing light that surrounds the sun enhances its ethereal presence, making it appear as if it truly illuminates the scene with celestial guidance. Whether viewed as a guardian of the festivities or a representation of the life-giving force that sustains all cultures, this radiant figure adds a poetic and deeply symbolic touch to the Thailand section of the ride. It seamlessly intertwines the rich artistic traditions of Thailand and Bali, uniting visual storytelling with the universal themes of warmth, joy, and unity. To the right and just below the sun, extruding from the upcoming Japan scene, a fierce, multi-layered kite stretches across the sky, its segmented body undulating as if caught in an endless gust of wind. Unlike the serene golden sun floating over Thailand, this kite takes on a strikingly different presence, its face fierce and expressive, reminiscent of the mythical Tengu or Oni from Japanese folklore. The jagged, flame-like edges encircling its face echo the imagery of a fiery sun, blending natural and supernatural symbolism. This kite, likely inspired by traditional rokkaku kites, is an homage to Japan's rich kite-flying heritage, where such hexagonal kites are flown in competitions and festivals. However, its dramatic expression and extended, train-like formation also recall Japanese dragon kites or koinobori carp streamers, both of which symbolize strength, perseverance, and motion. The way this kite extends outward in a long, articulated form creates a mesmerizing visual effect, giving it an almost serpentine quality as it weaves through the sky. The exaggerated facial features, wide eyes, sharp teeth, and bold markings are reminiscent of No and Kabuki theater masks, where performers use stylized expressions to convey emotions and supernatural presence. The dark tones and intense gaze give the kite an almost guardian-like quality, as if it watches over the scene below. This connection to protective spirits aligns with the idea that kites in Japanese culture are often flown for good luck, warding off evil and bringing blessings. To the right, and slightly above the rokkaku, a striking red and gold kite takes the form of a tai, sea bream, a fish revered in Japanese culture for its association with good fortune and prosperity. Its bold, circular shape and stylized eyes give it a whimsical yet regal presence, reminiscent of traditional Edo kites, which often depict auspicious animals. The intricate gold embellishments on its body, along with delicate curved patterns, mimic the elegant scales of the sea bream, reinforcing its symbolic connection to celebration and luck. Suspended beneath the tai kite, a small figure dangles from a rope, caught mid-motion as if soaring through the sky. The presence of this figure transforms the kite from a mere decorative element into a dynamic storytelling piece, evoking images of daring acrobats or mythical beings carried by the winds. The posture and playful positioning of the doll suggest a light-hearted, festive moment, seamlessly blending the themes of joy and adventure. Controlling this entire airborne display is a character standing beneath the towering form of Mount Fuji, Japan's most iconic natural landmark. Dressed in a traditional festival outfit, this figure wears a white headscarf and a richly patterned jacket adorned with intricate geometric motifs, possibly referencing the happy coats worn during Japanese festivals. The contrast between his deep red pants and the gold embellishments on his attire adds a sense of ceremonial importance, reinforcing his role as the master of the kites. The visual composition of this scene ties together layers of cultural significance, from the tai kite's symbolism of prosperity to the festival figure's role in guiding it through the sky. As the boat proceeds into the Asia scene of the ride, a cascade of golden fans unfolds along the curved platforms, framing a lively celebration of South Korea. At the forefront, a group of dancers dressed in traditional hanbok-inspired outfits performs an animated routine, their bright blue and white garments contrasting against the warm golds and reds of the surrounding decor. The dancers' hats, adorned with long flowing ribbons, echo the motions of Korea's famous samulnori and nongak performances, where the swirling ribbons become an extension of the movement itself. Further up the platform, musicians keep the rhythm alive, playing traditional percussion instruments. The small drums and gongs they carry are reminiscent of those used in Korean folk music, where layered beats create a vibrant and dynamic soundscape. The figures are carefully positioned in staggered layers, creating depth and movement as though the performers are caught mid-dance in an eternal celebration. At the heart of the scene, a small figure sits atop a large stylized blue water buffalo, exuding a sense of peaceful journey through the landscape. Dressed in a traditional Korean outfit with a broad-brimmed hat, the rider holds a content expression, cradling a small animal in their arms. The soft curve of their posture, paired with the gentle sway of the buffalo's head, captures a tranquil moment of companionship between human and nature. The water buffalo itself is rendered in a whimsical, almost storybook-like fashion, with a rounded body and exaggerated features that emphasize its friendly nature. Golden tassels dangle from its horns, adding an ornate touch reminiscent of decorative harnesses used in ceremonial processions. Its deep blue hue contrasts with the surrounding red and gold tones, making it stand out as a focal point in the composition. This pairing of rider and buffalo evokes themes of agrarian life and harmony with nature, significant elements in Korean culture. The animal's calm demeanor and the figure's serene presence reflect the enduring connection between people and the land, a motif often celebrated in Korean folklore and traditional paintings. Together, they create a scene that is both picturesque and deeply rooted in cultural storytelling, offering a quiet but powerful moment within the vibrant display of the ride. The background features stylized golden patterns, evoking the elaborate embroidery found in Korean royal garments and traditional textiles. These intricate shapes add to the regal and festive tone of the scene, reinforcing Korea's rich artistic heritage. Against the dark backdrop, the gleaming golds shimmer under the soft stage lighting, enhancing the sense of depth and theatricality. The figures appear poised in an endless festival, their exaggerated smiles and rhythmic motions capturing the joy of communal celebration. The balance of warm and cool tones, combined with the intricate layering of figures, ensures that the Korean segment of the ride stands out as a moment of lively cultural expression, seamlessly blending tradition and stylized design. Standing tall and strikingly red, the Torii Gate serves as both a visual and symbolic threshold in the Japan scene of It's a Small World. Traditionally, Torii Gates mark the entrance to Shinto shrines, signifying the transition from the ordinary world into a sacred space. Here, the Torii performs a similar function, framing the passage of the boat as it carries guests deeper into the immersive landscape of the ride. By sailing beneath the gate, riders symbolically cross into a space infused with cultural reverence and artistic celebration. This particular torii exhibits a kasuga-style curved top beam, adding a graceful upward sweep to its form. The vermilion color, commonly associated with torii gates, carries deep spiritual significance in Japan, believed to protect against evil and invite prosperity. Suspended at the center of the gate is an ornate golden ornament, resembling a decorative emblem seen in shrine festivals. Its presence reinforces the ceremonial nature of this passageway, evoking the grandeur of sacred sites and traditional processions. Beyond its religious connotations, the Torii Gate plays an essential role in the narrative flow of the attraction. Much like in real-world Japan, where Torii Gates serve as entrances to spaces of ritual and reflection, this gate visually separates the scenes, signaling movement from one cultural vignette to the next. The act of passing through the gate is not just a physical transition, but an artistic device that deepens the sense of journey, emphasizing the interconnectedness of cultures within the ride. In its stylized form, this Torii Gate encapsulates both the spiritual essence and cultural artistry of Japan, creating a bridge between the familiar and the fantastical. A grand arched bridge, painted in warm golden hues, serves as the focal point of the China scene, framing a glowing blue structure beyond. Inspired by the elegant curves of traditional Chinese moon bridges, its sweeping form creates a visual gateway, inviting the viewer deeper into the landscape. Atop the bridge, a group of dolls, dressed in flowing silk-like garments, plays joyful melodies, evoking the grace and harmony of Chinese musical traditions. To the left, a pair of acrobats performs a balancing act, a tribute to the renowned artistry of Chinese acrobatics. Their playful yet precise poses capture the physical discipline and theatrical elegance seen in performances across China's rich history. Beneath them, a panda doll, its black and white form nestled comfortably on the ground, adds a whimsical and distinctly Chinese touch to the scene. Surrounding the architecture, lush bamboo stalks rise high, their delicate leaves casting subtle shadows against the backdrop. The presence of bamboo, a symbol of resilience and virtue in Chinese culture, reinforces the natural beauty that complements the ornate structures. Stylized cherry blossoms, depicted as floating decorative elements, further enrich the scene, referencing the fleeting beauty of springtime in China. The layered composition creates depth and movement, with a blend of architectural and organic elements working in harmony. The soft glow of lantern-like lighting and the intricate design details ensure that this scene captures both the poetic serenity and dynamic energy of Chinese culture. High above the China scene in It's a Small World, Mulan gracefully controls a soaring red kite in the shape of Mushu, her loyal and mischievous dragon companion. This playful interaction not only celebrates the beloved Disney film Mulan, but also integrates seamlessly into the ride's overarching theme of cultural unity and storytelling through traditional arts. Mushu's kite, with its elongated segmented body trailing behind, mimics the form of traditional Chinese dragon kites, which are flown during festivals to symbolize power, good fortune, and the balance between heaven and earth. His exaggerated facial expression, large round eyes, and signature whiskers bring a whimsical energy to the sky, embodying his animated personality. The flowing ribbons attached to the kite's tail enhance the sense of movement, creating the illusion that Mushu is playfully dancing through the air. Mulan herself stands confidently below, dressed in an outfit reminiscent of her warrior attire, with bold green and gold patterns that reflect traditional Chinese clothing. She holds the vibrant red ribbon guiding Mushu, reinforcing her role as a strong and determined figure who embraces both tradition and individuality. The cherry blossoms surrounding her, a recurring motif in Mulan, serve as a visual nod to renewal and perseverance, themes deeply ingrained in her story. This integration of Mulan and Mushu within the China scene bridges the gap between folklore and Disney storytelling. A towering structure with sweeping curved rooftops welcomes guests into the Japan scene of It's a Small World, its bold red and gold accents standing in stark contrast to the softer pastels of the surrounding architecture. The exaggerated rooflines, reminiscent of Japanese pagodas and festival pavilions, lend a sense of movement to the structure, as though it is swaying in harmony with the music that fills the air. The intricate patterns and textures adorning the walls evoke the rich traditions of Japanese woodblock printing and textile design, celebrating the nation's deep artistic heritage. At the forefront, two elegantly dressed figures peer out from small balconies, each wearing delicate kimonos with intricate patterns. Their poised expressions and gentle postures suggest a moment of quiet observation, perhaps a nod to the refined grace found in Japanese theater and traditional storytelling. Below them, a wide-arched doorway leads guests forward, transforming the architecture into a gateway that seamlessly guides the journey through the attraction. Above the scene, box kites sway gently in the air, their angular forms contrasting with the flowing lines of the building's roof. These kites, inspired by traditional Edo-era designs, add a playful sense of motion to the tableau, reinforcing the theme of celebration and joy. Meanwhile, delicate gold embellishments shimmer across the structure, catching the light and enhancing the sense of depth and dimension. This carefully composed Japanese scene embodies both the serenity and festivity of the culture, blending the quiet elegance of its figures with the exuberance of its architecture. Positioned just to the left of the grand archway, a stylized golden fish adorns the wall, framed by 4 shimmering gold strips. This artwork, with its intricate patterns and bold curves, is reminiscent of traditional Japanese woodblock prints and textile designs, where fluid lines and natural motifs are celebrated. The fish's shape is highly stylized, with a rounded body and elegant curling fins that create a sense of movement, almost as if it is swimming through the textured surface of the wall. The scales, carefully rendered in an intricate repeating pattern, recall the precision of katagami, the Japanese art of stencil dyeing, where detailed motifs are cut by hand to create elaborate designs on fabric. The sweeping arcs of its tail and fins further enhance the illusion of fluidity, a hallmark of Japanese artistic tradition, where nature is often depicted in dynamic, flowing forms. The deep, rich gold tones of the fish catch the light, reinforcing its presence as a symbolic element of fortune and strength within the scene. The 4 golden strips surrounding the fish provide a structured contrast to the organic, flowing form of the creature. Their shimmering quality suggests a gilded frame, elevating the fish to an emblem of cultural reverence. The use of gold, a color often associated with good fortune and divine blessings in Japanese art, enhances the symbolic importance of the piece, making it a striking focal point amidst the surrounding architectural elements. The Egypt scene in its A Small World presents a stylized interpretation of the ancient land, using geometric abstraction and bold color contrasts to create a dreamlike vision of its iconic landmarks. At the forefront, 2 triangular pyramids rise in sharp symmetry, their smooth surfaces reflecting the ride's signature lighting. These simplified forms echo the grandeur of the Great Pyramids of Giza, while maintaining the whimsical, paper-cutout aesthetic characteristic of Mary Blair's artistic vision. To the left, a modernist rendering of the Great Sphinx of Giza watches over the landscape, its angular features softened by pastel hues and delicate glitter accents. The face of the Sphinx is highly stylized, with elongated eyes and decorative swirls in place of its traditional Stoic expression. This artistic choice transforms the ancient monument into something both familiar and playful, reinforcing the ride's theme of unity through stylized interpretation rather than historical realism. Above the scene, golden fabric drapes cascade from the ceiling, evoking the luxurious textiles and flowing garments associated with ancient Egyptian royalty. The soft folds of fabric contrast with the rigid geometry of the pyramids, adding an element of movement to the otherwise static structures. The combination of these elements, the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the draped textiles, creates a balanced composition that guides the viewer's eye across the scene while maintaining a sense of grandeur and mystery. The lighting design further enhances the surreal atmosphere, casting warm golden hues on the structures while allowing deep shadows to create an illusion of depth. The contrast between illuminated surfaces and dark recesses gives the pyramids a sense of scale despite their simplified forms, ensuring that the visual language remains cohesive with the surrounding scenes in the attraction. By distilling Egypt's most recognizable symbols into bold, stylized forms, this scene captures the spirit of the country without relying on strict historical accuracy. The Egypt scene in its A Small World extends beyond the pyramids and Sphinx, unveiling an opulent palace interior that blends intricate patterns, rich jewel tones, and architectural grandeur. This vignette transports guests into a lavish setting that reflects the luxury and artistry of ancient Egyptian palaces, where flowing textiles, ornate vessels, and regal figures take center stage. At the heart of the scene, a reclining figure adorned in golden attire lounges on an elaborately carved chaise. The doll's serene expression and flowing garments evoke the imagery of Egyptian royalty, where rulers and noble figures were often depicted in reclining poses, surrounded by luxury and comfort. The patterns on the costume are reminiscent of traditional Egyptian broad collars, known as wazeks, which were worn by pharaohs and elite members of society. These collars, often made of gold and inlaid with semi-precious stones, symbolized power and divine connection. The linear and geometric designs along the edges of the garment reflect the influence of hieroglyphic inscriptions and temple carvings, where repeating patterns conveyed status and eternal life. Flanking the scene, 2 massive decorative urns, adorned with geometric patterns and sparkling embellishments, frame the composition. The motifs on these urns are inspired by ancient Egyptian pottery and faience, a glazed ceramic material used to create symbolic and everyday objects. The diamond and chevron patterns reference traditional lotus and papyrus motifs, which were commonly found in Egyptian art and symbolized creation, rebirth, and the union of Upper and Lower Egypt. The urn's bold symmetry and vibrant color palette mirror the painted reliefs of tombs and temples, where sacred symbols and protective deities were meticulously arranged to guide souls in the afterlife. Above, a series of arched windows and draped golden fabric suggest an open-air palace, where flowing curtains and intricate latticework filter soft, diffused light. The lattice patterns in the windows recall mashrabiyah screens, an architectural element used in Middle Eastern and North African design to provide ventilation and shade while maintaining privacy. The combination of rich blues, shimmering golds, and deep greens creates a striking contrast, reinforcing the scene's dreamlike quality. The interplay of light and shadow adds dimension to the setting, making the structures feel both grand and intimate at once. The Egypt scene in its A Small World expands beyond architectural grandeur to depict a vibrant desert landscape where a traveler atop a richly adorned camel journeys through the stylized scenery. The deep blue pyramidal mountains in the background contrast with the warm hues of the foreground, creating a sense of depth and vastness within the ride's limited space. The geometric abstraction of the pyramids, combined with the soft glittering textures of surrounding palm fronds, reinforces the dreamlike aesthetic of the attraction. At the center, the camel itself is a visual masterpiece, its pink fur a whimsical departure from realism, yet consistent with Mary Blair's signature use of bold, unexpected colors. The camel's decorative saddle and bridle are draped with tassels and embroidered patterns, reflecting the intricate craftsmanship of traditional Egyptian and North African textiles. Such adornments, often found in desert caravans, not only served a decorative purpose, but also signified status and cultural heritage. The gold cuffs around the camel's legs add an extra touch of ornamentation, reminiscent of the gilded embellishments seen in Egyptian ceremonial attire. The traveler seated atop the camel is wrapped in a flowing white robe and head covering, evoking the practical desert attire worn for protection against the sun and sand. His veiled face adds an air of mystery, reinforcing the nomadic themes often associated with Egypt's historical trade routes and vast desert expanses. The positioning of the figure, slightly reclined, suggests a sense of calm as he embarks on his journey, further enhancing the serene atmosphere of the scene. Above, circular concentric patterns in the sky resemble celestial bodies or stylized sun disks, an artistic nod to Ra, the Egyptian sun god, who was central to ancient Egyptian cosmology. These bold, graphic elements, paired with starburst-like accents, contribute to the mystical, otherworldly quality of the scene. The careful interplay between geometric shapes and organic forms ensures that the composition remains dynamic while maintaining the ride's cohesive, stylized aesthetic. The first Africa scene bursts with energy, rhythm, and stylized interpretations of the continent's wildlife and culture. The vibrant color palette, layered scenery, and playful animal figures create an immersive representation of Africa's dynamic spirit. The scene is dominated by animals engaging in a lively performance, with each figure contributing to the sense of movement and celebration. To the left, a large rhinoceros with a pinkish hue and floral patterns plays a drum, accompanied by a small yellow creature that appears to be joyfully reaching toward it. The floral motifs on the rhino's body echo the connection between nature and life, a theme often seen in African art where animals and plants are intertwined symbolically. To the right, a stylized zebra with a glittering patterned body also plays a drum, adding to the percussive rhythm of the scene. The zebra's unique embellishments, with shimmering accents, reflect the artistic approach of the ride, blending fantasy with cultural influences. The drums themselves are adorned with bold geometric patterns, including zigzags and diamond shapes, which are significant in many African textile and decorative traditions. These motifs can symbolize movement, water, or even community, as drum patterns often carry meaning beyond simple decoration. The use of red and white in the drum design may also reference traditional African body painting or beadwork, where these colors are associated with protection and celebration. In the foreground, two laughing hyenas add to the sense of joy and playfulness. Their exaggerated expressions and warm hues contribute to the vibrant storytelling, reinforcing the idea that this is a place of festivity and togetherness. The lush, stylized foliage surrounding the animals with glittering leaves and exaggerated shapes enhances the dreamlike quality of the scene, making it feel both magical and deeply rooted in artistic traditions inspired by African aesthetics. The Africa scene continues its vibrant depiction of the continent's culture, wildlife, and artistry, this time centered around a striking red lion at the heart of the composition. The lion, with its bold coloration and stylized form, is an anchor in the scene, representing strength and regality, themes often associated with lions in African folklore and art. Its bright red mane stands in contrast to the surrounding deep greens and blues, drawing the viewer's eye toward its powerful yet serene presence. Surrounding the lion are figures of children engaging in music and dance, reinforcing the theme of joy and communal celebration. The child sitting atop the lion's back, balancing multiple drums, references the rhythmic traditions deeply ingrained in many African cultures. Percussion instruments are central to African music, serving as a means of communication, storytelling, and ceremonial expression. The child at the lion's side, playing a uniquely spiraled red instrument, adds another dynamic element, emphasizing movement and sound. The spiral shape of the instrument itself is reminiscent of traditional African wood carvings and basket designs, which often incorporate flowing curved patterns symbolizing life cycles and harmony. To the left, a group of children dressed in vividly patterned garments adds to the scene's energy. Their clothing is adorned with intricate geometric patterns, which are a hallmark of African textile arts. These designs often have cultural significance, with specific shapes and color combinations representing heritage, status, or community identity. The presence of strong, warm tones, such as yellows and oranges, echoes the warmth of the African landscape and the vibrancy of its artistic traditions. In the foreground, the water is teeming with life, with stylized crocodiles and water lilies, adding to the scene's layered depth. The playful, rounded forms of the crocodiles contrast with the sharp geometric patterns on the buildings and textiles, creating a balance between organic and structured design elements. The water lilies, with their luminous petals, add a touch of elegance and serve as a nod to the importance of rivers and wetlands in African ecosystems and cultures. Above, large stylized flowers glow with an internal light, adding an ethereal quality to the setting. Their oversized petals and intricate designs resemble handcrafted paper or fabric decorations often used in African celebrations and festivals. At the center of the scene, a large, pinkish-purple hippopotamus with illuminated eyes and an expressive face dominates the foreground. The floral patterns on its body, accentuated with shimmering details, evoke the intricate designs found in African textiles and beadwork. This embellishment adds an element of artistic fantasy while still nodding to traditional African decorative arts, which often incorporate natural motifs. A small bird perches on the hippo's head, suggesting a symbiotic relationship reminiscent of real-world bird species that clean and live alongside large mammals. To the right, a warthog, painted in warm earthy tones and adorned with blue circular accents, carries a mischievous-looking lion cub on its back. The playfulness of their expressions and positioning contributes to the sense of movement and camaraderie within the scene. The cub, with its exaggerated grin, echoes the stylized aesthetic of African folk tales, where animals often take on anthropomorphic traits to convey moral lessons and stories. The use of blue spots on the warthog also connects to symbolic African face painting and tribal markings, which often signify status, identity, or spiritual protection. The backdrop of the scene is equally rich in cultural references, particularly through the use of geometric patterns. A large drum-like structure to the left is decorated with a striking triangular design in alternating warm and cool colors. This patterning is reminiscent of African mudcloth, kente cloth or woven basketry, where bold shapes and symmetry play a vital role in storytelling and tradition. The presence of these patterns reinforces the rhythmic theme of the scene, as drums are a fundamental element of African music, communication, and ceremony. Surrounding the animals, lush foliage and stylized water lilies further enhance the dreamlike quality of the composition. The layered plants, some coated with glittering textures, create a sense of depth and vibrancy, while also paying homage to Africa's abundant natural beauty. The floating lily pads and the reflections of glowing lights in the water add to the immersive effect, making the viewer feel as though they are drifting through a stylized, enchanted river. This scene is centered on a group of dancers adorned in bright yellow costumes with orange feathered headdresses, evoking the spirit of traditional African festivals and ceremonial dances. Their synchronized movements and expressive postures create a dynamic rhythm that contributes to the overall celebratory tone of the scene. Surrounding the dancers, tall, whimsical giraffes with long, curved necks are decorated with floral patterns along their bodies. These stylized giraffes add a playful, almost dreamlike quality to the composition, reinforcing the imaginative interpretation of African wildlife. Above the dancers, large banana-like leaves and tropical plants arch overhead, their glittering surfaces catching the light to enhance the sense of depth and movement. Hanging baskets with geometric patterns and thatched roofs suggest traditional African dwellings or storage containers, grounding the scene in cultural references. The presence of these structures reinforces the idea of a community gathering, with dance and music playing a central role in storytelling and social bonding. The focal point of this scene is a striking, oversized yellow flower with drooping petals, adorned with small, dangling beads. This vibrant centerpiece may symbolize Africa's abundant flora and the deep connection between nature and artistic expression in many African cultures. The use of shimmering materials and rich hues accentuates the theatricality of the scene, making it feel celebratory and immersive. The Africa scene in It's a Small World is a masterful example of visual storytelling through composition, lighting, and perspective. The scene is arranged in layers, creating a sense of depth and immersion as the boat glides through the vibrant display. Every element is positioned with careful consideration to guide the viewer's eye naturally from foreground to background, ensuring a dynamic and engaging visual experience. The composition follows a structured yet whimsical approach, balancing vertical and horizontal elements. The towering giraffes on the left and the elevated platform of dancers create a sense of height, leading the eye upward. This is counterbalanced by the river path in the foreground, which curves through the scene, drawing attention toward the central focal points: the brightly lit hippo, the lion, and the musicians. The layering of elements, from the water level to the tree canopy above, enhances the feeling of movement and depth, making the space feel expansive despite being enclosed. Lighting plays a crucial role in the visual impact of the scene. The deep blues and purples of the background contrast with the warm yellows, oranges, and greens of the foreground, emphasizing key figures and adding a dreamlike glow. The lighting also highlights the glittering textures and intricate patterns present throughout the scene, reinforcing the stylized, handcrafted aesthetic that characterizes Mary Blair's artistic influence. Spotlights and backlit elements create a sense of theatricality, illuminating figures in a way that mimics the warmth and energy of a festival or performance. The scene is also carefully balanced in terms of visual weight. The hippo and lion serve as strong, grounded elements, anchoring the lower portion of the composition, while the elevated platforms and overhanging foliage provide a counterbalance. The mix of organic shapes, such as the flowing water and curving plants, contrasts with the geometric patterns found in the dancers' garments and architectural elements, creating a visually engaging interplay of forms. The placement of figures and objects ensures that no area feels too empty or overcrowded, maintaining a harmonious flow throughout. Perspective is subtly manipulated to create an illusion of vastness within the contained space. The receding lines of the background elements, such as distant structures and foliage, give the impression of depth, making the landscape feel endless. Meanwhile, the larger foreground figures establish a sense of proximity and immediacy, reinforcing the viewer's movement through the scene. The interaction of different visual planes keeps the composition lively, ensuring that there is always something new to discover with each passing glance. Overall, the Africa scene exemplifies the ride's ability to create a sense of global unity through artistic expression. The composition, lighting, and perspective work together to craft an enchanting, immersive world that captures the vibrancy and rhythm of African culture while maintaining the cohesive, whimsical charm of It's a Small World. As the boat transitions into the South American section of It's a Small World, the first visual cue that greets visitors is a striking, warmly lit poster displaying Buenos Dias. This poster serves as an artistic gateway into the vibrant culture of the continent, framed by a lush, rainforest-inspired backdrop that enhances its presence. The shimmering curtain effect surrounding it mimics cascading waterfalls or sunlight filtering through dense jungle foliage, setting an immersive stage for the lively scenes to come. The poster itself is a masterpiece of stylization, embodying the signature artistic approach of Mary Blair. Its composition is symmetrical yet dynamic, with a grand fruit bowl forming the central structure. The bowl overflows with tropical fruits and flowers, including pineapples and broad petal-like shapes, reinforcing the region's lush biodiversity and agricultural richness. The warm color palette of oranges, yellows, and greens exudes an inviting, festive atmosphere, preparing guests for the cheerful energy of the South American representation ahead. Beneath this flourishing arrangement, a series of playful figures dressed in traditional Latin American attire engage in joyful interaction. Their simplified geometric forms and bright, solid colors give them a whimsical charm, while their distinct features highlight the cultural diversity of the region. A horse-riding figure, likely referencing the gaucho traditions of Argentina, adds a dynamic element to the design, symbolizing both history and movement. The presence of an alligator at the base reinforces the connection to tropical river environments, particularly those of the Amazon and other South American waterways. Typography plays a crucial role in the poster's impact. The bold red Buenos Dias lettering stands out against the earthy tones, immediately conveying a message of warmth and hospitality. The font choice, reminiscent of folk art, integrates seamlessly into the overall design, ensuring that the poster remains both decorative and informative. The Chilean section of It's a Small World brings an enchanting, icy scene to life with its depiction of the king penguins of Tierra del Fuego. These penguins, outfitted in vibrantly decorated sombreros, dance along stylized waves of deep blue, creating a whimsical yet culturally rooted representation of the southernmost region of South America. Their playful appearance and synchronized movements add to the ride's immersive celebration of global unity through art, music, and design. One of the most striking elements of this scene is its use of light and color. The deep blues and shimmering whites evoke the glacial landscapes of Tierra del Fuego, setting the stage for the lively penguins that contrast with the cool environment. This contrast not only draws the eye to the penguins, but also mimics the real-world contrast of life thriving in an otherwise stark and cold environment. The backdrop, with its sharp, radiating shapes, represents the icy peaks and sunbursts often associated with the extreme southern latitude of Chile. The geometric forms and layered waves create a sense of depth and movement, making the static figures appear animated within the ride's fluid progression. This clever use of abstraction allows for both a recognizable landscape and an interpretation that fits within the stylized aesthetic of It's a Small World. Beyond the visual elements, the inclusion of king penguins in this representation of Chile is significant. While penguins are often associated with Antarctica, king penguins have established colonies along the coasts of Tierra del Fuego. Their presence in the ride highlights this unique and little-known aspect of South American wildlife, celebrating the biodiversity of the region in a way that is accessible and engaging for visitors. Additionally, the penguin sombreros add a layer of cultural fusion. blending traditional Chilean motifs with the recognizable form of the king penguin. While not an authentic element of their natural environment, the sombreros serve to visually connect them to the broader themes of South American culture in the ride. The exaggerated, decorative brims recall traditional Chilean textiles and festival attire, reinforcing the celebratory atmosphere of the scene. The Peru scene in It's a Small World is a vibrant celebration of Andean culture, weaving together elements of traditional music, architecture, and textiles. The scene is structured with a strong vertical composition, drawing the eye upward from the three children at the center of the scene to the flute player and reed boat at the top. This layered approach creates a sense of movement and continuity, guiding the viewer through the rich cultural landscape of the Andes. At the center of the scene, three children in traditional Peruvian attire stand atop a stylized mountain. Their outfits feature bold geometric patterns and bright colors, reflective of the intricate textiles woven by Andean artisans for centuries. The chulo hats worn by the children are emblematic of Peruvian highland traditions, with ear flaps designed to protect against the cold and adorned with decorative tassels. Behind them, the pastel pink and green stripes on the mountains echo the vibrant yet harmonious color schemes commonly found in Peruvian textiles and pottery. Above them, the flute player represents the deep musical heritage of the Andes, where instruments such as the siku, pan flute, and quena, traditional flute, have been played for centuries. His presence adds a dynamic, musical quality to the composition, reinforcing the theme of cultural celebration. The reed boat, a direct reference to the Totor reed vessels used by the Uros people of Lake Titicaca, adds an element of historical continuity, symbolizing the resilience and ingenuity of indigenous communities in Peru. The interplay between organic and geometric forms enhances the visual appeal of the scene. The curved waves surrounding the reed boat contrast with the structured, angular mountains below, mirroring the natural and man-made elements of Andean life. The entire composition is unified by a palette of warm earth tones and cool blues, capturing both the warmth of Peruvian culture and the crisp air of the high-altitude regions. Through its carefully crafted details, the Peru scene encapsulates the essence of the Andes, celebrating the traditions, artistry, and enduring spirit of its people. The Argentina scene in It's a Small World captures the essence of the country's folkloric traditions, rich landscapes, and iconic gaucho culture through a vibrant display of color, texture, and composition. The scene is designed with a dynamic layout, leading the viewer's eye through the various layers of Argentina's culture and natural beauty. At the center of the composition is a child dressed as a gaucho, the legendary Argentinian cowboy, riding a stylized green horse. The gaucho's outfit, complete with a black hat, poncho, and decorative boots, reflects the attire traditionally worn by horsemen of the Pampas. The poncho's intricate patterns pay homage to the textile traditions of Argentina, where woven fabrics serve both functional and aesthetic purposes. In his hands, the child holds a small guitar, referencing Argentina's deep musical roots, particularly in folk music and tango. Flanking the gaucho are two fantastical animals, a blue, bull-like creature to the left, and a large, vividly feathered bird to the right. These exaggerated, whimsical creatures reinforce the stylized aesthetic of Mary Blair's artistic vision, while also nodding to the importance of livestock and native wildlife in Argentina's rural life. The creatures' bright colors and glittering details add a sense of festivity to the scene, evoking the celebratory spirit of Argentine festivals and rodeos. The background features stylized mountains and foliage painted in soft pastel tones of pink and green, adorned with circular red embellishments. These design choices evoke the rolling hills and fertile plains of Argentina's countryside, while also maintaining a playful and harmonious color scheme. The use of layered cutout shapes in the landscape creates depth, making the scene feel expansive despite its compact space. The Brazil scene in It's a Small World is a dazzling celebration of the country's vibrant culture, featuring an explosion of color, movement, and dynamic composition. Inspired by the lively traditions of Brazilian music, dance, and festivals, the scene showcases an artistic interpretation of the nation's exuberance, framed within Mary Blair's signature whimsical style. At the center of the composition is a massive, ornately decorated bowl-shaped float elevated above the rest of the scene. The float is adorned with large floral patterns and intricate detailing, reminiscent of the elaborate costumes and decorations seen during Rio de Janeiro's famous carnival. Perched inside the float, several children dressed in bright costumes play musical instruments and dance, embodying the joyful rhythms of Brazilian samba and bossa nova. The placement of this float high above the ground gives the scene a sense of grandeur and vertical movement, drawing the viewer's eye upward. Beneath the float, children dressed in traditional Brazilian attire continue the festive display. Some wear elaborate headdresses, evoking the grandeur of carnival performers, while others carry baskets filled with tropical fruit, a nod to the country's lush natural resources and agricultural heritage. The characters' costumes, with their vivid colors and layered textures, reinforce the celebratory atmosphere of the scene. The background consists of large, stylized foliage in deep pink and purple tones, interspersed with abstract cutout shapes that suggest the lush rainforests of the Amazon. These shapes create a sense of movement, as though the scenery itself is swaying to the rhythm of the music. The contrast between the organic, flowing forms of the foliage and the structured geometric patterns of the float and costumes adds a layer of visual interest and balance to the composition. Lighting plays a crucial role in enhancing the energy of the scene. Warm golden hues highlight the figures and decorations, making them appear to glow against the darker background. This use of lighting mimics the effect of stage lights at a festival, emphasizing the performers and creating a sense of spectacle. The Mexico scene in It's a Small World is a vibrant and intricate composition that captures the essence of Mexican culture through a fusion of color, texture, and traditional motifs. The scene is layered with rich cultural elements, bringing together folk art, indigenous craftsmanship, and the festive spirit that defines Mexico. In the foreground, large stylized plants with glittering green textures evoke the appearance of agave plants, which are deeply significant in Mexican heritage, as they are used to produce traditional beverages such as tequila and pulque. These plants also contribute to the visual depth of the scene, leading the viewer's eye toward the central elements. To the left, a small figure wearing a traditional green dress and a wide-brimmed hat carries a basket of marigolds, which are strongly associated with Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. These flowers, often called cempasúchil, are used in altars and celebrations to honor deceased loved ones. The presence of these flowers in the scene not only adds vibrant bursts of color, but also nods to one of Mexico's most famous cultural traditions. The central portion of the scene features musicians playing stringed instruments while perched on an elevated platform decorated with intricate geometric patterns and a stylized face motif. These patterns are reminiscent of indigenous Mesoamerican art, particularly from the Aztec and Maya civilizations, which often incorporated symmetrical designs and symbolic imagery. The musicians themselves, dressed in festive attire, add an element of liveliness and movement, capturing the musical heritage of Mexico that ranges from mariachi to folk ballads. To the right, a display shelf houses an assortment of traditional Mexican handicrafts. Among the items on the shelves, a hanging piñata, a small ceramic jar, and a painted figurine reflect Mexico's artisanal traditions. The piñata, an iconic part of Mexican celebrations, especially during Christmas and birthdays, embodies themes of joy and community. The earthenware jars and figurines speak to Mexico's long-standing pottery traditions, which date back to pre-Columbian times and continue to be a major artistic practice in regions like Oaxaca and Jalisco. The entire scene is bathed in warm, golden lighting that enhances the depth and richness of the colors. The interplay of shadow and light adds dimension to the architectural elements, particularly the pyramid-shaped structures in the background, which evoke the grandeur of ancient Mesoamerican pyramids, such as those found in Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza. These structures connect the scene to Mexico's indigenous past, blending seamlessly with the folk elements in the foreground. This first depiction of Mexico within It's a Small World sets the stage for a multi-layered exploration of the country's culture, art, and traditions. At the forefront of the scene, colorful woven blankets serve as the foundation for a dazzling display of fruits, vegetables, and traditional foods. The use of bold reds, oranges, and greens in the produce contrasts against the warm tones of the woven textiles, which feature intricate striped patterns commonly associated with Mexican serapes. The meticulous placement of the food baskets adds depth to the scene, leading the viewer's eye toward the central figures of the display. 3 prominent dolls dressed in traditional Mexican attire take center stage. One girl, wearing a bright sombrero and a glittering dress, stands with an arm outstretched as if welcoming visitors to the marketplace. Another doll, balancing an enormous basket of marigolds atop her head, references the iconic Flor de Cempasúchil, commonly used in celebrations like Dia de los Muertos. The marigolds add a layer of cultural significance, symbolizing life, death, and renewal in Mexican traditions. In the background, towering blue pyramidal structures adorned with geometric patterns and pre-Columbian motifs provide a sense of historical continuity. These structures resemble Mesoamerican temples, emphasizing the deep roots of Mexican heritage. The intricate designs in white and red evoke indigenous artistic traditions, adding an authentic touch to the scene. Above the marketplace, a small platform featuring musicians and whimsical creatures further enriches the composition. A stylized rooster with a fiery red comb and elaborate feather details is perched near a musician playing the pan flute. Alongside him, a cactus character strums a guitar, incorporating Mexico's strong musical heritage into the scene. The playful nature of these figures aligns with Mary Blair's signature aesthetic, blending folk influences with a dreamlike, storybook quality. The overall lighting of the scene enhances its warmth, casting a golden glow over the market and emphasizing the texture of the woven textiles and the luminous quality of the marigolds. This creates a visually engaging contrast with the cooler tones of the pyramid structures, ensuring a well-balanced composition that is both immersive and celebratory. The foreground is dominated by a richly colored serape, draped over a cart with its bold horizontal stripes in warm tones of red, yellow, blue, and green. The serape, a woven blanket with indigenous and Spanish influences, is a hallmark of Mexican craftsmanship, often used as clothing or decoration. At the center of the scene, a smiling golden sun radiates outward, symbolizing both the country's bright, warm climate and its deep cultural associations with the sun in Aztec and Mayan mythology. The stylized face within the sun recalls traditional Mexican folk art, where celestial motifs are often depicted with human-like expressions, imbuing the scene with a sense of personality and energy. Flanking the sun are decorated ceramic jars and vases, featuring simple black linework on their surfaces. These pieces echo the pottery traditions of Mexico, particularly from regions like Oaxaca and Puebla, where indigenous designs continue to influence contemporary craftsmanship. The floral motifs painted on the side of the cart further emphasize the connection to nature and traditional decorative arts. On the right, small figures of women in wide-brimmed straw hats carry baskets of marigolds and other vibrant flowers. These blooms, commonly associated with Day of the Dead celebrations, reflect the importance of flowers in Mexican festivities and rituals. Their placement in baskets on the women's heads mirrors traditional methods of carrying goods in rural markets. This scene in It's a Small World represents a lively celebration of Mexican culture, combining elements of traditional dance, indigenous symbolism, and architectural design. The composition centers around a large circular platform decorated with indigenous motifs, supporting a group of dolls dressed in vibrant folkloric attire, engaging in a joyous dance beneath an elaborate canopy. The dancers, clad in traditional charro and China poblana outfits, embody Mexico's deep-rooted traditions in music and dance. The boys wear embroidered red and white charro suits, complete with wide-brimmed sombreros, while the girls don colorful dresses adorned with floral embroidery, lace, and ribbons. Their expressive postures and the rhythmic flow of their garments reflect the energy of a folkloric performance, reminiscent of dances like the Jarabe Tapatio. The cylindrical platform they dance upon is richly decorated with indigenous-inspired patterns in earth tones, drawing from the geometric and symbolic motifs of pre-Columbian civilizations such as the Aztecs and the Mayans. The bold, abstract faces and intricate linework on the structure pay homage to traditional art forms found in ancient Mexican codices, pottery, and murals, reinforcing the historical depth of the scene. Above the dancers, a magnificent layered canopy made of golden ruffled fabric dominates the upper portion of the composition. The structure mimics the swirling skirts of traditional Mexican dances and possibly references the elaborate decorations of a piñata, an iconic symbol of festivity in Mexican culture. The golden, red, and brown hues of the canopy create a warm, celebratory atmosphere, enhancing the sense of movement and energy within the space. Small, glittering blue orbs are placed around the edges, adding a sparkling accent that ties into Mary Blair's signature whimsical aesthetic. This scene pays homage to the country's vibrant culture through an animated representation of the Three Caballeros, an iconic trio from Disney's 1944 film. The scene is bursting with warm tones of yellow, orange, and red, reminiscent of Mexico's sun-soaked landscapes and festive celebrations. The architecture is distinctly colonial, with arched windows and decorative embellishments that reference the Spanish influence on Mexico's cities. At the center of the composition, Donald Duck, Panchito Pistolas, and Jose Carioca appear in dynamic poses, as if caught mid-performance. Their exaggerated features and colorful attire bring a playful energy to the scene, reinforcing the film's light-hearted spirit. Panchito, the Mexican rooster, is depicted strumming a guitar, a nod to the country's deep musical traditions, particularly mariachi and folk music. Donald, wearing a sombrero, embodies the international appreciation of Mexican culture, while Jose, the Brazilian parrot, highlights the connection between Latin American nations. The intricate patterns and motifs adorning the structure surrounding the trio are inspired by indigenous Mexican art, particularly the geometric designs found in Aztec and Mayan ruins. The circular patterns and sunburst designs reference the significance of the sun in Mesoamerican mythology, where it was worshipped as a life-giving force. The hanging medallions and decorative floral elements add to the festive atmosphere, echoing the elaborate decorations seen during celebrations such as Dia de los Muertos and traditional Mexican festivals. The upper portion of the scene features an oversized layered canopy resembling a piñata or a decorative papel picado banner, its ruffled texture adding a sense of movement and festivity. The structure's bold, curved lines and contrasting dark and light elements create depth, making it appear grand and theatrical. The design effectively draws the viewer's eye upward, emphasizing the elevated placement of the Three Caballeros as performers on a grand stage. The Mexico scene in It's a Small World is a masterful composition that integrates elements of balance, scale, light, and order to create a visually engaging and immersive experience. The scene is arranged in multiple layers, carefully guiding the viewer's eye from the foreground, filled with rich details, to the towering structures in the background, ensuring a sense of depth and grandeur. Balance is achieved through the symmetrical placement of key elements. The central structure, adorned with intricate geometric patterns, serves as an anchor point, with various cultural and festive motifs radiating outward. The musicians, dancers, and market vendors are distributed evenly across the space, creating a harmonious and lively tableau. The careful placement of these figures ensures that no single element overwhelms the scene, allowing each detail to contribute to the overall narrative of Mexican culture. Scale plays a crucial role in the composition, as elements of varying sizes create a sense of perspective and hierarchy. The oversized decorative sun and towering pyramid-like structures provide a dramatic backdrop, emphasizing the vastness of the cultural landscape being portrayed. Meanwhile, smaller details such as baskets of fruit, marigolds, and textiles add a tactile richness to the foreground. This careful contrast in scale helps maintain visual interest while reinforcing the grandeur of the setting. Lighting is employed strategically to highlight key focal points and enhance the warmth and festivity of the scene. Golden hues bathe the market displays and dancers, creating a welcoming atmosphere, while cooler blue tones on the pyramidal structures add depth and contrast. The interplay of light and shadow ensures that the intricate patterns and textures remain visible, adding a dynamic quality to the composition. The overall order of the scene reflects a meticulous arrangement that allows for both movement and stability. The placement of arches, platforms, and decorative elements creates a structured environment where each component has a defined space while still contributing to the overall sense of festivity. The presence of musical instruments and animated figures enhances the sense of motion, reinforcing the theme of joyful celebration. Together, these elements work in concert to present an idealized, stylized interpretation of Mexico that is both engaging and visually cohesive. The balance between detailed storytelling and artistic abstraction ensures that the scene is both instantly recognizable and deeply immersive, embodying the whimsical and celebratory spirit of It's a Small World. The exit portion of the Mexico scene in It's a Small World offers a striking conclusion to the country's section, blending architectural grandeur with bold color palettes and intricate patterns. This portion of the scene is composed of stacked geometric structures adorned with vibrant hues of pink, orange, blue, and green. The use of rectangular and square forms gives the impression of a stylized cityscape, reminiscent of the traditional stepped pyramids and colonial buildings found throughout Mexico. The structures are heavily decorated with patterns inspired by pre-Columbian art and indigenous textiles, incorporating elements like zigzags, diamonds, and stylized glyphs. The inclusion of large sculptural masks on the facades reinforces the influence of Mesoamerican cultures, evoking imagery from civilizations such as the Aztec and Maya. The contrast between the smooth, flat surfaces of the architecture and the detailed relief of the masks adds depth and visual intrigue. Lighting plays a crucial role in this section, with multicolored illumination casting a warm glow over the facades. The carefully placed lights highlight the different textures and patterns, creating a dynamic interplay of shadows and reflections. This technique enhances the theatricality of the scene, ensuring that the exit maintains the same energy and vibrancy as the rest of the Mexico section. As the boats move forward, the transition from this area to the next country is carefully orchestrated through the arrangement of visual elements. The taller structures on the left gradually recede in height, leading the viewer's eye toward the upcoming scenes. This tapered composition ensures a seamless transition while maintaining balance within the overall ride layout. As the boats drift forward, guests are greeted by a warm, glowing sign that reads Aloha in bold red letters. The poster, framed in deep shadow, bursts with the vibrant patterns and playful stylization that define Mary Blair's artistic vision. A pair of wide-eyed, golden-haired figures peer out from the lower half of the composition, their geometric features echoing traditional Polynesian designs. Above them, a tiki figure with an expressive face sits beneath a thatched roof, adorned with intricate patterns reminiscent of carvings found in Hawaiian and Tahitian art. Stylized birds perch atop its headdress, adding an element of whimsy that feels both timeless and inviting. Surrounding the central figures, lush foliage and tribal motifs hint at the lush landscapes and cultural richness of the Pacific Islands. The colors, earthy browns, sunny yellows, and deep reds, evoke the warmth of the tropics, setting the stage for the journey ahead. This illuminated sign serves as a beacon, a gentle transition into the next section of It's a Small World, where the spirit of Polynesia, Hawaii, Tahiti, New Zealand, and beyond comes to life through Blair's distinctive, joyful aesthetic. As the boats glide forward, the darkness of the previous passage gives way to a strikingly carved archway, its silhouette forming a fluid, organic shape against the glowing blue beyond. The ceiling has been carefully sculpted into a wave-like form, an artistic choice that immediately immerses guests in the essence of the Polynesian islands. This undulating frame echoes the rhythm of the ocean, reinforcing the deep connection between these island cultures and the sea. Through the arch, glimpses of the upcoming scene emerge, a dazzling blue landscape bathed in soft, glowing light. Stylized patterns, evocative of traditional Polynesian tapa-cloth designs, dance across the set pieces, while palm frond silhouettes and angular huts hint at the island villages that await. The shimmering reflections on the water's surface further enhance the illusion of an endless ocean, drawing riders deeper into the heart of the Pacific. The interplay of darkness and light in this transition is intentional. The tunnel, cloaked in shadow, acts as a portal, momentarily disorienting, yet perfectly priming guests for the vibrant, dreamlike world that lies ahead. As the boats drift deeper into It's a Small World, an unexpected detour emerges, one that is not tied to a single country, but instead to a realm of fantasy. The Polynesian-inspired scenery gives way to an undersea world, where the soft glow of shimmering blues and greens transforms the space into an aquatic dreamscape. Here, mermaids reign, blending the folklore of the ocean with a playful touch of Disney magic. At the heart of the scene, a glowing seashell cradles a familiar figure, the red-haired mermaid princess, Ariel. Her shimmering green tail curls beneath her, and a cascade of red hair frames her joyful expression. Surrounding her, stylized coral cutouts, painted in pastels and adorned with glittering details, add texture and movement, creating the illusion of a living reef. The coral's wavy silhouettes mimic the currents of the sea, a recurring motif in Mary Blair's whimsical design language. Just beyond Ariel, another mermaid with a golden crown and an impish smile sways to the rhythm of the ride's ever-present melody. She is joined by others, each adorned with playful details, some with shells nestled in their hair, others with pearl necklaces or patterned tails. Their wide-eyed expressions echo the signature small world doll aesthetic, reinforcing the harmony between fantasy and the attraction's signature style. Above, sea creatures float effortlessly. Tropical fish painted in bold geometric patterns dart between stylized strands of seaweed. A large sea turtle, its shell adorned with intricate patterns, glides overhead, carrying a garland of delicate white flowers, an elegant nod to Polynesian oceanic traditions. Adding to the Disney infusion, characters from Finding Nemo peek through the coral formations. Nemo, the bright orange clownfish, and his forgetful blue tang friend, Dory, weave through the scenery, a gentle reminder of the studio's ever-expanding oceanic storytelling. Unlike the culturally rooted scenes in the rest of the attraction, this tableau feels like a playful celebration of the ocean's mysteries, a space where Disney's animated mermaids and sea creatures can coexist in the same harmonious world that It's a Small World strives to represent. Why mermaids? The scene does not belong to any single country, yet it fits seamlessly into the attraction's vision of unity and whimsy. Mermaids are present in legends from cultures across the globe, from Polynesian sea spirits to European sirens, making them an unexpected but fitting symbol of shared mythology. By placing them here amid the South Pacific section, the ride subtly acknowledges the ocean's role as both a barrier and a bridge between cultures. This dreamlike undersea sequence is a testament to It's a Small World's ability to transcend geographical boundaries, weaving together folklore, fantasy, and Disney's own animated legacy. As the boats continue forward, the song persists and the mermaids remain, forever singing, forever part of this world. As the boats glide forward, the vibrant hues of the South Pacific give way to a lush tropical landscape, welcoming guests into the Philippines. The scene is awash with rich greens, warm yellows, and bursts of floral patterns, evoking the archipelago's abundant natural beauty. Towering banana leaves and stylized palm fronds frame the space, their oversized geometric forms echoing the distinct visual style of It's a Small World. At the center of the tableau, a doll representing the Philippines stands poised atop a tiered platform, gently fanning herself with a delicate folding fan. She wears a traditional turno, a gown distinguished by its butterfly sleeves and intricate embroidery. The shimmering peach fabric catches the light, while lace detailing adorns the sleeves and bodice, reminiscent of the hand-woven piña cloth used in formal Filipino attire. A sparkling tiara rests atop her neatly styled black hair, giving her an air of regal elegance. Behind her, stylized triangular rooftops, perhaps evoking the bahay kubo, a traditional Filipino stilt house, rise in playful pastel tones, their simple patterns harmonizing with the rhythmic repetition of shapes throughout the attraction. The architecture, though abstracted, subtly nods to the Spanish and indigenous influences that have shaped Filipino design. Further enriching the scene, a golden glow bathes the figure, enhancing the warm, welcoming atmosphere. The layering of floral patterns, organic cutouts, and geometric shapes reflects the ride's signature aesthetic, flattening depth while still creating an immersive, almost dreamlike sense of space. Floating above, a turtle adorned with a string of flowers drifts gently through the air, a nod to the country's close relationship with the sea. As the boats glide into the New Zealand scene, guests are greeted by a lush, stylized landscape dominated by towering green hills adorned with bold, symmetrical leaf patterns. These hills, with their rich, deep hues and dotted embellishments, echo the intricate kauhaiwai designs found in Maori meeting houses, where swirling, rhythmic motifs symbolize lineage, connection, and growth. The sharp geometric symmetry of the leaves reflects the precision of traditional Maori wood carving, transforming the set into an abstracted yet instantly recognizable vision of Aotearoa. At the very center of the scene, 4 brilliantly feathered birds perched atop large blooming flowers take the spotlight. Each bird, painted in striking blues, yellows, and oranges, appears to turn its head along with the attraction's iconic melody while strumming delicate harp-like instruments with their tails. Their beaks turn in synchronized rhythm, and the shimmering beaded strings of their harps catch the light as they sway. This playful representation of New Zealand's avian life draws inspiration from the country's real native birds, such as the keka and kea, which are known for their intelligence and mischievous behavior. The exaggerated flowers on which they perch, with their wide petals and deep magenta hues, add a surreal, dreamlike quality to the scene, turning this avian concert into a moment of pure whimsy. To the right of center, a Mary-inspired doll stands proudly atop a pedestal, flanked by 2 fuzzy brown kiwi birds. Her traditional attire features a woven flax skirt, a fur-lined cloak, and a finely detailed hat adorned with geometric patterns reminiscent of Maori weaving and carving traditions. Her poised, welcoming stance hints at the storytelling and expressive movements of Maori cultural performance, subtly bringing the spirit of haka and poi into the ride's playful aesthetic. The kiwi birds beside her, long-beaked, round-bodied, and covered in soft brown feathers, are a fitting tribute to New Zealand's most iconic and endangered species. Their gentle, inquisitive expressions lend a sense of warmth and charm, reinforcing the country's deep connection to its unique wildlife. The entire composition follows Mary Blair's signature artistic approach: bold, flat shapes, rhythmic repetition, and carefully curated color contrasts. The undulating green hills, the symmetrical leaves, and the balance between realism and abstraction make this scene a masterclass in Blair's ability to distill the essence of a place into its most joyful, graphic elements. While other sections of It's a Small World celebrate human cultures through dance, architecture, and traditional clothing, the New Zealand scene offers a slightly different perspective. Here, the land itself, its rolling hills, native birds, and treasured wildlife, takes center stage, emphasizing the Maori worldview that people and nature are deeply intertwined. By placing the musical birds at the heart of the scene and situating the Maori doll and kiwi birds to the right, the design subtly reinforces the harmony between the country's cultural and natural heritage. Through its vibrant patterns, whimsical wildlife, and reverence for indigenous traditions, the New Zealand scene transforms a small corner of the attraction into a rich, living tapestry of Aotearoa. As the boats round the corner, the golden glow of Polynesia fades into a deep, immersive blue. The scene ahead is a striking contrast, an underwater world bathed in cool tones, where stylized waves ripple along the walls and playful sea creatures glide through the space. This is the first glimpse of Australia, and it's a small world. Though instead of land, the journey begins beneath the ocean's surface, a fitting tribute to the country's famous marine ecosystems, including the Great Barrier Reef. At the base of a towering sail-like structure, two familiar figures emerge from the deep. Nemo, the bright orange clownfish, and his forgetful companion, Dory, swim through the stylized waves, their animated features blending seamlessly into Mary Blair's whimsical world. Bubbles rise from Dory's mouth as if she's mid-sentence, always ready to chatter, while Nemo's vibrant coloring makes him a focal point against the dark blues of the ocean backdrop. Their presence here is more than just a playful addition. It connects this scene to Australia's cinematic legacy, as Finding Nemo takes place in the waters surrounding Sydney. Above them, the enormous sail-like form draws the eye, its smooth curves reminiscent of a traditional Aboriginal bark canoe or the billowing sails of a Sydney Harbour sailboat. Painted with a striking turtle motif and bordered with dot-like patterns, the sail echoes Aboriginal art styles, where concentric circles and dot work are commonly used to depict stories of land and sea. The turtle itself is a sacred symbol in many Indigenous Australian cultures, representing wisdom, protection, and the enduring connection between people and water. However, the turtle on the sail also serves another purpose. It is likely an homage to Crush, the laid-back sea turtle from Finding Nemo, who famously surfs the ocean currents alongside Marlin and Dory. His presence here adds another subtle nod to Australia's vibrant marine life, while reinforcing the film's deep connection to this part of the world. Much like the ancient stories told through Aboriginal dot paintings, Finding Nemo introduced audiences to the beauty and wonder of Australia's oceans, making Crush a fitting symbol for this underwater gateway into the country's section of the ride. The perspective from the wide shot emphasizes the scene's careful layering. The boats pass beneath this great wave of fabric, reinforcing the feeling of being submerged in an underwater realm. Shadows of additional sea life, perhaps a reef shark or another passing school of fish, are projected onto the walls, further deepening the illusion. On the far right, the golden hues of the next section begin to peek through, hinting at the transition from ocean to land. This opening to the Australia section sets the tone for the country's representation in the attraction, not just through its landscapes and wildlife, but through its storytelling. By beginning in the sea, the ride acknowledges Australia's deep relationship with the ocean, from the Great Barrier Reef to the maritime history of the Indigenous peoples and early explorers. As the boats continue through Australia, three fluffy koalas cling to the trunk of a tall stylized tree, their round bodies and bright wide eyes capturing the charm of one of the country's most beloved marsupials. Rendered in deep blue, magenta, and soft pink, these koalas maintain the attraction's signature whimsical color palette while still being instantly recognizable. Their playful arrangement, stacked atop one another in a gentle climb, adds movement to the scene, as if they are inching their way up toward the delicate, drooping leaves that frame the top of the tree. The tree itself is unmistakably inspired by the eucalyptus, the lifeblood of the koala's diet, and one of Australia's most iconic trees. Its slender trunk and gracefully arching branches mimic the natural sway of eucalyptus limbs, while its stylized, cut-out leaves evoke the distinctively elongated shape of real eucalyptus foliage. The sparse canopy allows the soft glow of the surrounding lighting to filter through, creating a dreamy, almost twilight-like atmosphere. At the base of the tree, patterned structures with dotted and striped designs add layers of texture to the setting. These geometric elements may be inspired by Aboriginal art, where dots, lines, and repeating patterns are used to tell stories and depict landscapes. The presence of these designs near the koalas suggests a blending of Australia's rich natural environment with its deep cultural heritage, subtly reinforcing the connection between land, animals, and storytelling traditions. Encircling the tree is a spiked wooden fence, an element that stands out against the otherwise organic shapes of the scene. This fence is reminiscent of traditional enclosures used to protect sacred sites or important gathering places in Aboriginal culture. Its vertical poles and crisscrossing beams give the impression of a protective barrier, perhaps symbolizing the preservation of the koala's fragile habitat. In the context of It's a Small World, where harmony and unity are central themes, this fence could serve as a gentle reminder of the importance of conservation and respect for nature. With its mix of playful character design, stylized flora, and cultural motifs, this scene is a perfect encapsulation of the ride's approach to storytelling. The koalas, full of charm and personality, serve as the focal point, while the eucalyptus tree, patterned base, and protective fence work together to create a world that is both distinctly Australian and universally enchanting. As the boats continue through Australia, a strikingly stylized kangaroo takes center stage, its vibrant pink form adorned with playful blue star-like patterns. The exaggerated proportions of its long ears, curved tail, and oversized feet capture the energy and charm of one of the country's most iconic animals. Nestled in its pouch, a baby kangaroo, or joey, peeks out with an expression of wide-eyed curiosity, its face framed by a delicate mane of soft, textured fur. The joey's presence reinforces the theme of family and nurturing, a common motif in It's a Small World that emphasizes unity across cultures and species. Surrounding the kangaroo, large eucalyptus leaves drape over the edge of the platform, their scalloped edges and warm earth-toned patterns blending seamlessly into the backdrop. These leaves serve a dual purpose. They frame the kangaroos while also visually softening the geometric platforms, transforming the set into a more organic, immersive environment. The use of eucalyptus is fitting, as the tree is not only a staple of Australia's landscape, but also a crucial part of its ecosystem, providing shelter and sustenance for countless native species. The leaves' folding placement mimics the way real eucalyptus branches droop, reinforcing the ride's ability to distill natural elements into simple, striking shapes. Above the kangaroos, a young boy stands confidently on a platform, gripping a red boomerang. His short black hair and bright expression capture the universal spirit of playfulness, while his poised stance suggests he is mid-throw, ready to send the boomerang spinning through the air. The boomerang itself is one of Australia's most recognizable cultural artifacts, historically used by Indigenous Australians for hunting, sport, and ceremonial purposes. Its inclusion here serves as a nod to the deep history and ingenuity of Australia's First Nations peoples, subtly woven into the ride's joyful aesthetic. Perched atop a textured, earth-toned platform, 3 playful platypuses hold eggs in their left hands, their wide, grinning beaks adding a sense of mischief to the scene. Their soft, rounded forms contrast with the angular, geometric elements around them, emphasizing their unique presence within the stylized landscape of It's a Small World. Each platypus lifts and lowers its egg in a rhythmic motion, adding a subtle sense of animation to the tableau. The inclusion of the eggs is a nod to the platypus's rare distinction as a monotreme, one of the only mammals that lay eggs, further tying the figures to their real-world counterparts. The platform they stand on is a striking combination of textures and patterns, blending earthy, rock-like surfaces with vibrant, decorative details. The base features bold, carved patterns reminiscent of Aboriginal artwork, where repeating lines and organic forms are used to tell stories of land and nature. These geometric etchings add depth and cultural richness to the structure, anchoring the platypuses within a setting that feels distinctly Australian. A large, stylized flower motif, painted in a warm orange hue, dominates one side of the platform, its abstracted form resembling the intricate patterns often seen in Indigenous Australian art. The simplicity of the design aligns with Mary Blair's signature style, flattened shapes, bold contrasts, and rhythmic repetition, while still evoking the natural world. The combination of earthy textures and bright graphic elements creates a harmonious balance, reflecting the duality of Australia's landscapes, both rugged and richly adorned with cultural storytelling. Towering above the Australian landscape, two imposing moai statues stand with stoic expressions, their geometric forms carved in striking, angular relief. Their weathered texture and deep-set eyes lend them a sense of ancient mystery, evoking the real moai of Easter Island. Monolithic stone figures created by the Rapa Nui people of Chile, whose section of It's a Small World was encountered several rooms back. Though geographically misplaced, their presence here is not meant to be a lesson in cartography, but rather an artistic decision, blending cultures in the same way Mary Blair's visual style unites the world through bold shapes and rhythmic compositions. The moai's exaggerated proportions and stylized carvings fit seamlessly into the attraction's aesthetic, aligning with the repeating patterns and geometric forms that define this Australian scene. Adding to their sense of grandeur, the moai are adorned with modern embellishments that deviate from their traditional stone-carved origins. One figure is crowned with a brilliant red flame, a dramatic artistic flourish that transforms the statue into something almost totemic, a beacon rising above the landscape. The other moai, framed by deeply etched patterns along its surface, maintains a more traditional, solemn presence. Together they stand as sentinels, bridging history and fantasy in a way that only It's a Small World can achieve. Their placement here in Australia speaks to the attraction's broader artistic vision, a world where cultural landmarks are not bound by borders, but instead exist in a harmonious, dreamlike collage. While the real moai belong to the distant Pacific island of Rapa Nui, their inclusion in this whimsical rendition of Australia serves as a reminder that It's a Small World is not about strict geographical accuracy, but about celebrating the artistry, wonder, and unity of cultures across the globe. As the boats drift into the Hawaii section of It's a Small World, the scene bursts into a vibrant composition of bold colors, rhythmic patterns, and stylized tropical elements. The deep blues of the waves contrast with the fiery reds, oranges, and yellows of the landscape, creating an atmosphere that is both warm and inviting. Every detail, from the swirling ocean patterns to the geometric sun looming above, contributes to an abstracted yet unmistakably Polynesian aesthetic. At the heart of the scene, a doll representing a Hawaiian navigator or chief sits at the bow of a traditional outrigger canoe. Dressed in a bright red and gold cape with an elaborate curved headdress that billows dramatically behind, the figure evokes the regalia of Hawaiian royalty or seafaring leaders. The doll holds a wooden paddle, mid-stroke, as if guiding the canoe across stylized rolling waves. The canoe itself is adorned with bold black patterns on a pink surface, echoing the designs of Polynesian tapa cloth, a traditional form of bark cloth used for decoration and storytelling. The canoe's prow is shaped like a whimsical bird with a curved beak and wide, round eyes, giving the vessel a playful, almost mythical quality. Large pink and yellow feather-like fronds sprout from both the canoe and the background, framing the scene in a burst of color. These feathered details are reminiscent of the ahu ula, the feathered capes worn by Hawaiian chiefs, reinforcing the scene's regal undertones while maintaining the ride's signature stylization. Above it all, a massive circular sun dominates the background, its striking face divided into bold geometric segments. Its black and white patterned sections, dotted with intricate details, resemble traditional Hawaiian kapa designs, which were often used in textiles and storytelling. The sun's wide eyes and open mouth lend it an animated expression, giving it an almost watchful presence over the scene. Its triangular rays extend outward in a rhythmic pattern, reinforcing the dynamic energy of the composition. Framing the sun, large golden arrow-like shapes stretch across the wall, adding an extra layer of movement to the background. Their symmetry and angular forms recall Polynesian navigational motifs, perhaps alluding to the incredible seafaring traditions of the Hawaiian people, who traversed the Pacific using only the stars, winds, and ocean currents. As the boats continue through the Hawaii scene, guests are met with an explosion of color, movement, and vibrant tropical imagery. The scene is a joyful tribute to Hawaiian culture, blending stylized representations of traditional elements with a playful, storybook-like aesthetic. At the forefront, Lilo and Stitch, beloved characters from Disney's Lilo and Stitch, take center stage on a surfboard. Stitch, the mischievous blue alien, sits at the front, his ears perked up in excitement, while Lilo, dressed in a floral print red and white dress, spreads her arms wide in a hula-like pose. Their inclusion ties the ride to a modern Disney classic, while also emphasizing the importance of surfing in Hawaiian culture. Surfing, or heinalu, has deep roots in Polynesian tradition, once reserved for Hawaiian royalty, and considered more than just a sport. It was a spiritual connection to the ocean. The placement of Lilo and Stitch at the front of the scene suggests a sense of adventure, welcoming guests into this idyllic island setting. The entire tableau is framed by stylized ocean waves, swirling with glittering pink and blue flowers. These rolling waves, outlined in gold, reflect the island's close relationship with the sea. The oversized pink flowers scattered throughout the foreground shimmer under the ride's lighting, evoking the tropical flora of the islands while reinforcing the ride's signature whimsical aesthetic. Beyond the foreground, the main island platform bursts with life. At its center, 3 hula dancers in bright yellow dresses sway gracefully, their movements synchronized as they perform this iconic Hawaiian dance. Their outfits, complete with grass skirts, floral leis, and hair adorned with tropical blossoms, capture the celebratory spirit of hula. Hula is more than a dance. It is a form of storytelling, a way to pass down history, myths, and traditions through movement and music. The golden glow surrounding the dancers gives them a sense of warmth and festivity, as if they are welcoming travelers to their island home. Towering above the dancers, palm trees with striped trunks reach toward the ceiling, their fronds painted in delicate gradients of green and gold. These stylized trees add verticality to the scene, creating the illusion of an island paradise beneath a vast, open sky. Among the trees, long banners hang, decorated with white floral motifs, ferns, and pineapples, referencing both Hawaii's lush landscape and its agricultural history. The pineapples, in particular, are a nod to Hawaii's past as a major producer of the fruit, a crop that became deeply tied to the island's economy and identity in the 20th century. In the background, geometric patterns and Hawaiian-inspired designs cover the walls, reinforcing the island's unique artistic traditions. Ukuleles, tropical leaves, and hibiscus flowers, Hawaii's state flower, decorate the space, further immersing visitors in the island's festive atmosphere. A waterfall cascades down a distant wall, its shimmering surface catching the light, adding a sense of motion and depth to the scene. Waterfalls, or wai, hold cultural significance in Hawaii, often associated with sacred sites and natural beauty. Altogether, this scene is a breathtaking celebration of Hawaii, blending cultural symbols, natural elements, and Disney magic into a single, harmonious moment. It captures the warmth, hospitality, and rhythm of the islands, inviting guests to feel as though they have stepped into a joyful Hawaiian luau, surrounded by music, dance, and the gentle rolling waves of the Pacific. As the boats drift gently forward, the rhythmic beat of drums welcomes guests to the sun-drenched islands of Tahiti. The scene is alive with movement, as 4 hula dancers gracefully sway to the timeless rhythms of Polynesian tradition. Their straw skirts, accented with bold red embellishments, shimmer under the soft glow of the surrounding lights, creating an enchanting display of fluid motion. Behind them, the backdrop is a stylized representation of the Pacific, adorned with geometric floral patterns reminiscent of traditional tapa-cloth designs. Towering bamboo poles frame the scene, evoking the island's lush natural landscape and the wooden structures of Tahitian villages. Above, oversized tropical flowers bloom, their vivid hues reinforcing the warmth and vibrancy of the region. Each dancer holds a pair of feathered uli-uli gourds, shaking them in time with the melody, echoing the joyful storytelling of Tahitian dance. Their serene expressions and gentle hand gestures reflect the deep cultural heritage of Polynesia, where movement is a language of its own, one that speaks of ocean voyages, island life, and the interconnectedness of nature and spirit. As the boats continue their voyage, the vibrant and dynamic world of Papua New Guinea comes into view, pulsating with the rhythm of tribal drums. Towering masks with wide grinning faces and bold geometric patterns dominate the scene, inspired by the traditional art of the region. Their exaggerated expressions and vivid colors capture the energy and mysticism of Papua New Guinean ceremonies, where storytelling, dance, and music blend seamlessly. At the center of the display, a child figure adorned in a grass skirt and intricate feathered headdress stands in a canoe, reminiscent of the finely crafted dugout boats used by island communities. The boat's prow is decorated with stylized crocodile motifs, a nod to the revered spirits of the Sepik River tribes, where the crocodile symbolizes strength, ancestry, and connection to the land. Surrounding the canoe, masked performers and drummers bring the scene to life. Their tall, conical headdresses and layered grass skirts reflect the elaborate ceremonial attire worn during sing-sings, festivals of music and dance that unite Papua New Guinea's many diverse tribes. The rhythmic beat of their drums echoes through the space, emphasizing the deep cultural tradition of storytelling through sound and movement. As the boats glide deeper into the South Pacific, the energy of Tahiti ignites again, quite literally, through the mesmerizing sight of fire dancers. Perched atop stylized flames in hues of orange, pink, and yellow, the figures sway with effortless grace, embodying the daring artistry of the traditional Polynesian fire dance. Their movements, though frozen in time, suggest a hypnotic rhythm, reminiscent of the real-life spectacle performed during island festivals and luau's. Dressed in simple brown skirts and crowned with leafy headpieces, these dancers channel the spirit of the ancient warriors who once used fire dancing as a test of bravery and skill. Beneath them, the geometric patterns adorning the structures echo the traditional motifs found in Tahitian tapa cloth, reinforcing the connection between movement, art, and heritage. To the side, oversized umbrellas with dangling beads create a whimsical contrast, suggesting tropical rains that nourish the land, a visual reminder of the balance between fire and water. As the boats glide beneath a canopy of towering trees, the lush, dreamlike world of the rainforest emerges. Delicate strands of shimmering beads cascade from oversized pastel umbrellas, evoking a gentle tropical rain. The air is alive with vibrant creatures, fluffy yellow jaguars, playful birds, and a grinning green crocodile, each contributing to the symphony of the jungle. High above, perched on golden swirling vines, a chorus of exotic birds watches over the scene, their plumage bursting with blues, pinks, and greens. Their curved perches mirror the organic flow of the rainforest, where nature's rhythms dictate the dance of life. A golden-eyed jaguar clings to a vine, its soft, fuzzy form a whimsical interpretation of the elusive predators that roam the dense jungle floor. Beneath the canopy, a sparkling crocodile lifts a dainty umbrella, as if embracing the perpetual downpour with humor and charm. The surrounding foliage is stylized with geometric patterns, a nod to indigenous textile designs found in rainforests across the world, from the Amazon to Southeast Asia. The bird in this scene is a striking figure, perched atop a large, stylized purple flower with a wide, umbrella-like shape. Its exaggerated features, bright green eyes, an elongated yellow beak, and a mix of deep blue and golden brown feathers give it a whimsical, almost mischievous expression. The delicate nest beneath it suggests that this is its home, nestled among the floral canopy of this vibrant, dreamlike setting. While the exact cultural inspiration for this bird is unclear, its vivid colors and playful design align with the imaginative, stylized interpretations of nature found throughout It's a Small World. Given its location behind the Hawaii scene and across from Tahiti and Papua New Guinea, it could be a representation of a tropical rainforest or Pacific island bird, possibly drawing influence from Polynesian or Melanesian art styles. However, its exaggerated features and quirky personality suggest that it may not be tied to a specific real-world species, instead serving as a fun, artistic embodiment of the lush environments of the region. As the boats round the final bend of this section, they pass beneath a striking structure that appears to draw inspiration from traditional Hawaiian or Polynesian architecture. The towering, triangular gateway, adorned with bold red and black geometric patterns, resembles the peaked forms of longhouses or ceremonial meeting places found in the Pacific Islands. The stylized tiki-like faces along its facade add to the sense of cultural reverence, standing as silent guardians watching over the transition from one world to the next. To the left, the glowing rainforest scene serves as a vibrant counterbalance to the deep reds and dark angular forms of the gateway. Cascading rain beads, whimsical golden creatures, and curving vines lend the scene a sense of verticality and movement, softening the structure's rigid lines. The rich blues and purples of the rainforest background create a cool contrast to the warmth of the exit, guiding the eye across the composition with ease. Above it all, a butterfly with bold stylized wings hovers in the darkness, acting as a subtle focal point. Its symmetrical design and luminous presence suggest transformation, reinforcing the idea that guests are moving from one world to another in their journey through It's a Small World. Through the archway ahead, the next scene glows with golden light, welcoming travelers into a new realm of celebration and warmth. Soft, rounded palm trees and rainbow hues create a stark contrast to the strong lines of the exit structure. This interplay of shadow and glow, of bold geometry against organic movement, creates a masterful visual transition. The scene ahead promises joy and festivity, a fitting destination after the rich, immersive journey through the rainforest and Pacific Islands. As the boats drift into the American West, the landscape transforms into a stylized celebration of cowboy culture, frontier life, and the vast diversity of the United States. The scene is painted in warm, golden hues, echoing the sun-baked deserts and rolling plains of the American landscape. Towering rock formations, inspired by the buttes of Monument Valley, rise dramatically in the background, their angular shapes softened by the ride's signature handcrafted aesthetic. The playfulness of the design, with its bold geometric patterns and glowing light, gives the scene a dreamlike quality, blending folklore and reality into a single, harmonious vision. Scattered throughout the desert landscape, clusters of cacti stand tall, their deep green forms punctuated by bright red flowers and twinkling lights. These small glowing details lend the scene an enchanting, almost magical atmosphere, reinforcing the whimsical nature of the ride. The careful placement of these elements creates a rhythmic balance between the foreground and background, guiding the viewer's eye across the tableau in a way that feels dynamic yet cohesive. At the heart of this vibrant scene, three familiar figures from Toy Story make a joyful appearance. Woody, the ever-optimistic cowboy, sits proudly atop his trusty steed, Bullseye, twirling a lasso high above his head. His presence feels completely natural in this stylized Wild West, blending seamlessly into the handcrafted aesthetic of It's a Small World. Bullseye, with his wide eyes and playful expression, exudes charm, while Jessie, standing nearby, brings the scene to life with her boundless energy. With her signature red hat, embroidered chaps, and glittering guitar, she strums a cheerful tune, capturing the spirit of a country hoedown. Their inclusion in the scene adds a layer of nostalgia, connecting modern audiences to the timeless themes of cowboy adventure and the camaraderie of the Old West. Beyond the Toy Story trio, the scene continues to celebrate the diverse cultures and histories of the American West. A young cowboy figure, dressed in classic Western attire, swings his lasso in an effortless arc, embodying the skills and traditions of the frontier. Further up in the scene, Native American figures stand proudly, their stylized clothing adorned with geometric patterns reminiscent of traditional indigenous art. Their raised arms, poised as if in song or celebration, honor the cultural heritage of the land, reminding guests of the deep-rooted histories that shape the American West. Though simplified in design, their presence is significant, reinforcing the ride's theme of unity and representation through artistic expression. To the left, the scene transitions from the rugged desert to a softer pastoral vision of the American heartland. Rolling green hills stretch toward the horizon, dotted with charming farmhouses, painted in pastel shades of pink and yellow. These whimsical homes, with their oversized doors and playful rooftops, feel like something out of a storybook, an idyllic representation of rural America. A bright red fence runs along the landscape, framing the scene and adding a pop of contrast to the lush greenery. Towering sunflowers sway beside it, their centers glowing warmly as if basking in the golden light of an endless summer. In this peaceful farm setting, two children embody the simplicity and joy of life in the heartland. A young girl, dressed in a pink gingham dress with a matching bow, holds a sunflower in her hand, her expression radiating warmth and innocence. Beside her, a boy in overalls and a straw hat clutches a bundle of wheat, symbolizing the agricultural roots that have long defined the American Midwest. Their presence brings a sense of balance to the scene, contrasting the adventurous, high-energy cowboy action with a quieter, more grounded depiction of American life. Together, these elements, desert and farmland, cowboys and farmers, Native American culture, and modern character integration, form a rich and layered tapestry of the United States. The warm lighting bathes the scene in a soft golden glow, enhancing the nostalgic, almost dreamlike quality of the display. This careful interplay of light and color helps to create a seamless transition between sections, ensuring that each part of the scene feels connected while maintaining its distinct identity. This segment of It's a Small World is more than just a visual representation of the American West. It is a love letter to the diverse landscapes, cultures, and traditions that define the country. Through folk-inspired patterns, playful character interactions, and thoughtful storytelling, it captures the adventurous spirit of the frontier, the warmth of the heartland, and the joy of music and movement. It is a place where cowboys and country tunes coexist with quiet farm life, where the golden glow of the desert meets the soft greens of rolling fields, a perfectly stylized storybook vision of the USA brought to life in the timeless world of It's a Small World. As the boats glide forward, It's a Small World reaches its final scene, a space that is both ethereal and unsettling, joyous, yet eerily ambiguous. Gone are the rich cultural motifs, the vibrant colors, the distinct settings that defined each country along the journey. Instead, everything has been drained of color, washed in soft whites and pale pastels. The dolls, once dressed in the vivid hues of their respective nations, now appear in shimmering, monochromatic attire. The architecture, previously bursting with individuality, dissolves into stylized, almost weightless shapes. The entire room seems suspended in a state of perpetual twilight, neither day nor night, neither one place nor another. At first glance, the scene appears celebratory. The children of the world, once separated by geographic and cultural distinctions, are now united, their differences stripped away in favor of a universal harmony. They sing the same song, dressed in the same whites and golds, bathed in a soft glow as they sway together in unison. Some wave, some dance, others appear to be looking outward, towards something unseen. It is a dazzling display of unity, the final thesis statement of the ride's message, that despite our differences, we are all one. But beneath this pristine unity, there is something uncanny about the tableau. The dolls we have encountered throughout the ride, each previously rooted in a distinct cultural identity, are now homogenized. Their once expressive clothing is reduced to glimmering, angelic simplicity. The specific details that made them feel like individuals, tied to real places and traditions, are now gone. They are no longer French or Japanese or Mexican or Indian. They are something else entirely, floating in a space that is neither earthly nor entirely imaginary. And then there is the ever-smiling sun, suspended overhead. Its simple geometric rays and softly glowing face cast light over the scene. But unlike the warm, playful suns that appeared throughout the ride, cheerful and stylized in accordance with the artistic motifs of each region, this sun is different. It is blank, otherworldly, almost godlike in its presence. It watches over this space with a quiet omniscience, its expression frozen in an unchanging smile. This is where It's a Small World takes an unexpected tonal shift, one that has lingered in the subconscious of generations of children and adults alike, while the rest of the ride carries a clear, structured sense of place. This finale exists outside of normal boundaries. It is not a country, not a culture, not a specific region of the world. It is an afterthought and an abstraction. And in that ambiguity, a question arises. What exactly is this place? One interpretation, perhaps the most obvious, is that this is a heavenly afterlife. The children, once defined by their cultural differences, have transcended them. The white costumes suggest purity, peace, even an angelic presence. The ride's journey, taken as a whole, mirrors a cycle of life. We are born into a world full of different cultures. We explore its wonders. We revel in its diversity. And then, in the end, we leave those identities behind. The finale is a utopia in the most literal sense, a place that exists nowhere. But that reading, as comforting as it is, does not explain the unsettling edge that so many have felt in this room. If this is a utopia, why does it feel so removed, so weightless? The answer may lie in the design process itself. When It's a Small World was created for the 1964 New York World's Fair, it was not intended to be a permanent attraction, nor was it conceived with the idea that millions would ride it, year after year, decade after decade. The finale, then, may have been more of a practical resolution than a deeply thought-out thematic statement. How do you end a ride about the world? By dissolving everything into a singular vision of harmony, however abstract that vision may be. This lack of definition may be precisely what makes the scene feel so unnerving. Unlike the cultural settings we've passed through, this space has no real-world anchor. The architectural forms are neither distinctly classical nor futuristic, neither traditional nor modern. The floating, stylized clouds, the oversized glowing flowers, the weightless ribbons, everything feels untethered. It exists in a liminal space, a dreamlike state where nothing is entirely real. Another explanation for the eerie quality of this finale could be the stark contrast between what came before and what we now see. Throughout the ride, we were immersed in environments full of warmth and specificity. Each scene was rooted in a distinct cultural identity, rich with visual storytelling. But now, all of that has vanished. This abrupt shift forces us to reconcile what we have just experienced with what we are now seeing. The transition is too extreme to feel natural. It is as if we have passed through some unseen threshold, leaving behind the tangible world and entering an abstract one. Then, of course, there is the ride's song itself. Heard throughout It's a Small World, its melody is bright and repetitive, charming in its simplicity. But in this final room, where the colors are drained and the forms are surreal, the song takes on an almost hypnotic quality. Its endless repetition, coupled with the eerily serene expressions of the dolls, creates an uncanny effect. It is the same song, the same tune, but now it feels almost inescapable. It loops and loops, as if we have entered a space outside of time. Ultimately, the It's a Small World finale is a paradox. It is meant to be the culmination of the ride's message, a celebration of unity, a vision of a world where all differences have melted away. And yet, it is precisely this lack of differentiation that makes it feel so strange. The ride has spent its entire duration teaching us to appreciate the beauty of cultural diversity, only to conclude with a scene that erases those distinctions. The result is a space that is visually stunning, but conceptually ambiguous, comforting, yet slightly uncanny, joyful, but tinged with an inexplicable sense of finality. Perhaps that is why the scene lingers in our minds long after the ride ends. It is not just the bright colors and cheerful characters that define It's a Small World, but also this final moment of ambiguity. It is a reminder that, for all its simplicity, this ride, one of Disney's most famous and enduring attractions, carries an unexpected depth. And whether we see it as a utopia, an afterlife, a dream, or simply an abstract artistic flourish, one thing is certain: this finale ensures that It's a Small World is never truly forgotten. As the boats drift toward the exit of It's a Small World, the grand finale transitions into its closing moments. The radiant, all-white celebration behind us begins to recede, and the scene narrows into a more subdued composition. At the heart of this transition is the iconic farewell sign, suspended in soft drapery, gently bidding adieu to guests as they prepare to re-enter the real world. This farewell scene is both an epilogue and a threshold, a liminal space between the dreamlike fantasy of the ride and the outside world beyond its doors. Unlike the grand synchronized display of the finale room, the exit is more intimate. The glowing sun still smiles overhead, casting a warm light over the scene, but its placement signals a conclusion rather than an ongoing celebration. The sun, an ever-present motif throughout the ride, acts here as a final symbol of unity and optimism, watching over the transition just as it illuminated the journey before. The farewell sign itself, with its gently draped fabric, is a deliberate contrast to the rigid geometric shapes of the ride's earlier architectural elements. It softens the transition, serving as a reminder that while the ride is ending, its message of harmony extends beyond these walls. The script is often stylized in a whimsical, almost hand-drawn fashion, reinforcing the childlike simplicity that defines It's a Small World. Like the song that continues to echo in guests' minds long after they leave, the farewell sign ensures that the core theme of unity, joy, and global togetherness lingers even after the final scene fades from view. Beyond the sign, the final dolls stand in farewell, dressed in the same white and gold hues that dominated the finale room. This stylistic continuity prevents a jarring transition while still signaling the approaching end. Their placement along the edges of the scene, waving and playing instruments, creates the illusion that they are gently guiding guests toward the exit rather than abruptly cutting off the experience. Yet there is something quietly melancholic about this moment. After the dazzling grandeur of the preceding scenes, the farewell is subdued, restrained. This is where the spell begins to break, where guests start to become aware that they are returning to reality. The farewell sign does not attempt to hold them back. Instead, it provides a gentle send-off, a final poetic gesture before they pass through the archway and emerge into the daylight, or back into the queue, depending on the layout of the attraction. Perhaps the most interesting element of the It's a Small World exit is the way it balances closure with continuity. Unlike other Disney attractions that conclude with dramatic finales or sudden narrative resolutions, It's a Small World dissolves gradually. The farewell is not a grand spectacle, nor is it particularly elaborate, but that is precisely what makes it effective. It reinforces the cyclical nature of the experience. Just as the song loops endlessly, so too does the idea that unity is an ongoing, never-ending journey. Guests may leave, but the ride remains, always ready to welcome new travelers aboard its global voyage. In this sense, the farewell sign and the final scene serve as a quiet but poignant moment of reflection. It is an acknowledgement that while the ride may be over, the world outside is still very much connected. The unity experienced within the attraction is not just a fantasy, it is a reminder, an invitation to carry that same spirit of understanding and joy into everyday life. As the boats pass under the final arch and the last notes of the song fade into the distance, guests are left with a lasting impression. A world that, despite its differences, remains small, interconnected, and filled with hope. The final scene of It's a Small World is an unexpected departure from the elaborate, culturally themed tableaus that make up the bulk of the ride. Instead of detailed sets representing specific regions of the world, riders are met with a display of oversized, stylized postcards. These whimsical messages, emblazoned with phrases in multiple languages, bid farewell to guests, reinforcing the global unity theme that has carried them through the attraction. At first glance, the postcard scene seems like a simple and charming conclusion, a way to tie up the journey with a warm goodbye. However, its stark contrast to the rest of the ride raises intriguing questions. Why is the finale presented as a collage of postcards rather than a final immersive setting? Is it a celebration of the journey completed, or does it hint at something more abstract? Perhaps an acknowledgement that the entire experience has been a storybook-like fantasy rather than a literal depiction of the world? The design of these postcards continues the visual language of Mary Blair's signature style, with flat shapes, bold colors, and an almost naive simplicity. They feature images of landmarks, animals, and cheerful figures, reminiscent of vintage travel posters. This approach maintains the ride's overall aesthetic, but also introduces an element of distance, as though the world being celebrated is now being viewed from afar rather than experienced firsthand. This shift from immersion to observation may symbolize the end of an adventure, much like receiving postcards from a place one has visited and now remembers fondly. There is also an element of surrealism to this finale. After traveling through a world brought to life by animatronic children in vibrant, kinetic settings, the final scene is notably static. The postcards hang suspended, their messages frozen in time, their edges designed to look like the perforations of real postage stamps. This stillness stands in stark contrast to the movement and energy of the preceding rooms. One could interpret this as a metaphorical transition, a return from the dreamlike voyage to reality, much like waking from a vivid dream and recalling its images only in fragments. Some might argue that this farewell scene, much like the all-white finale room that precedes it, carries an eerie quality. The journey up until this point has been deeply immersive, guiding riders through a colorful, harmonious world. But as the ride nears its end, the experience becomes less tangible and more conceptual. The postcards do not place riders within a space as previous scenes did. Instead, they offer a curated, two-dimensional reflection of what has come before. In this sense, they might feel like a reminder that the entire ride is a construct, a fantasy carefully pieced together rather than a real window into the world. The use of different languages in the farewell messages reinforces the global unity message of the ride, though in a more subdued manner than the earlier scenes. Instead of singing children in national costumes, we are left with stylized, almost abstract representations of different cultures. It's a visual farewell rather than an interactive one, which can feel both poetic and slightly detached. Ultimately, the final postcard scene serves as a gentle transition back to reality, allowing guests to reflect on the experience before exiting the attraction. Whether interpreted as a charming farewell, an artistic representation of nostalgia, or an unsettling departure from the ride's immersive nature, it remains an integral part of the "It's a Small World" experience. It encapsulates the joy of travel, the beauty of cultural exchange, and the bittersweet nature of endings, leaving riders with a final reminder of the ride's simple but profound message. We are all connected. Thanks again for riding It's a Small World with me. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Hope you have a magical day here in the Disneyland Resort or wherever your travels may take you.